Affordable homeownership. Register at roguevalleyhabitat.org or call 541-261-3520.
Hello, my name is Todd Friel, host of Wretched TV, seen right here on Dove TV. You say wretched. Does this have something to do with cats and fur balls? No, it doesn't. Instead, it's understanding we are wretched sinners in need of an amazing Savior.
theDove.us, your place online to stay encouraged and informed. Enrich and grow your faith with reliable, inspiring content. Anywhere you are, you can stream the Dove TV's faith-based programming. Listen to the Dove Radio. Ask for prayer. Get the Word for You Today devotional. Plus, download the Dove app. Go to theDove.us, a trustworthy Christian media platform that will change your life forever. Make it yours today.
To you. Welcome to Mornings on the Dove. What a day yesterday. A lot going on in the news.
We begin this half hour in the Middle East where Israelis are still taking in with delight.
I wish I had a siren and a light bulb on my car once in a while.
You know, you can get in trouble with that.
I know, but every once in a while.
Mostly sunny with a high near 58 in Redding and near 59 in Chico. Areas of...
All right, 8 minutes now past the hour. Well, let's take a look at the top story.
And our Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell joins us now from Jerusalem to continue our coverage.
So let's pray that our greatest days for the United States are ahead of us.
God loves you, and God can do what you can't do.
Wake up to Friends in the Morning, Perry and Jerry. Weekdays on Mornings on the Dove. Encouraging and informative, the Dove TV. The triumphs and challenges of the global church. Christian World News. Weeknights at 5:30 on the Dove TV. Encouraging and informative.
Well, good morning, good morning. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to Mornings on the Dove. It's Forrest Gump and his sidekick here.
Yeah, I love shrimp.
Bubba Gump right here.
Bubba Gump, baby.
Anyway, good morning to you. Happy Tuesday. As always, a lot going on in the news, and we'll certainly get into that. Kind of a nice day, but a change is a-coming. And looks like the rest of the week could be in and out of some, kind of borderline winter-spring showers. Mm-hmm. And some weather at the top of the hill. We'll keep you informed on that. Anything special today?
Well, we thank professionals who consider every need during the most challenging time in our lives. So it is National Funeral Director and Mortician Recognition Day.
Really?
So our hats off to you. Yeah, a very sensitive job. I have a first cousin who spent his entire career as a mortician.
Really?
In our small hometown in Northwood, North Dakota. And so our hats off to you. It's also National Promposal Day. It's that day where you go and ask your girlfriend or maybe ask your boyfriend, I don't know, these days, go to the prom.
Yeah.
I had a girlfriend in high school once who I told her, here's the deal. I have enough money for us to go to prom, or I have enough money for me to buy a new pair of ski boots.
You didn't tell her that, did you?
I did.
Oh, gosh.
I bought the ski boots, and I don't have that girlfriend anymore.
And you didn't go to the prom?
I didn't go to the prom. She didn't either. And
you had your values kind of.
I ended up with a new girlfriend a couple of years later.
Oh, God.
Thank you, doll. I know Pam would have said, it's okay, sweetheart, get the boot. I don't know.
Oh, gosh.
That's a true story.
That's classic.
A true story. Anyway, it's also, now I'm going to take one of the words out of this because it just bugs me. It is officially National Worship of Tools Day. We don't worship tools, but we sure do like them, so it's National Tools Day.
Oh, gosh.
Kids, go leave your dad's tools out in the yard. We've all gone through that.
Well, you know what?
Where's my best screwdriver?
I've learned the hard way now in buying tools. I always buy two.
Yes.
One for me, that's over here, and one over here that I know is going to get borrowed, not come back.
And not come back.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So enjoy that one. And finally, only one thing to eat. We're going to have National Oatmeal Nut Waffles. And I have never heard nor seen nor have any consciousness of oatmeal nut.
That actually sounds good.
It actually does. Yeah, I agree.
Oatmeal nut waffles.
Yeah, and these days, you know, where you stay in a lot of hotels where they have the little breakfast down there, the little breakfast. Waffles is like one of the hot items down there now. You got the batter down there, and they're in little pre-measured cups. You put them in the waffle iron and stuff. And you know what? I don't normally eat waffles until I'm in that situation.
Oh, really?
And then, I get some bacon, you know, maybe if there's a little bit.
I like waffles once in a while.
I do too, you know, especially in that situation because they're fresh. They're better than, and you know what? Some of the toaster waffles are okay, but it's, you know, it's nice to pour that batter in there.
The other one.
Yeah, I like that.
You like lots of butter?
Yeah, I like lots of butter and lots of syrup.
Okay, good.
And
go out in style.
I'd like some now. Anyway,
all right,
good morning.
Stuff. All right, good morning to you. Well, let's check in with Forrest and see what he says about the weather.
The first in a series of fronts is starting to move over the top of our region. So today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, a chance of rain with spots of patchy fog and daytime high temperatures in the low 50s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville. Moving down the Willamette Valley, mostly cloudy with patchy morning fog and a chance of late afternoon showers with daytime highs in the low 50s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene. Mostly cloudy skies across the central Oregon high desert with daytime highs in the low to mid 50s for Prineville, Bend, and Sun River. Over in Boise, Idaho, mostly sunny and mid 60s. Along the Oregon coast, rain and patchy fog in near 53 in Coos Bay. Early patchy fog with a chance of rain in low 50s for Port Orford and Brookings. In Crescent City, California, a chance of showers in near 53. In southern Oregon, patchy, dense morning fog in the Rogue Valley, then mostly cloudy to partly sunny in upper 50s for Grants Pass, Medford, and Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, partly sunny and mid 50s. Into Northern California, increasing clouds in upper 50s in Wairika and near 67 in Redding. Sunny and breezy in Chico and Sacramento with daytime highs in the upper 60s and gusts up to 25 miles per hour. In the Bay Area, sunny with highs in the mid-60s for Santa Rosa and Napa. Sunny and breezy in San Francisco with a high near 62. And today in San Jose, early patchy fog before 7 a.m., then sunny with a high near 68. It's a look at your Tuesday weather on the Dove.
All right, good morning to you. A picture of the moon.
Wow.
We have a moon set.
Yeah.
And the camera's moving.
And the camera's moving.
I think that's off of Soda Mountain.
Okay, so now we're kind of looking northeast a little bit, but that was north, and before that, a little northwest,
West,
right?
Yeah. See, that's that's kind of west. That's the valley. See, that's I-5 coming up.
You're right. That's on the other side. That's
that's over on the other side of Pilot Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what a shot. I didn't know we had a camera up there.
I didn't either. That's pretty nice. Okay.
It's amazing what you get when you ask for it.
These guys do a great job back there.
There you go.
Well, time for a little bit of hope. And Pastor Greg Laurie talks about the hope that every Christian has in Christ.
And the final word he gives to us is, he that lives and believes in me shall never die. You say, well, what are you talking about? Of course we die. Well, yes, in one sense we do. Our body is laid in the ground, but the Bible promises one day we will be resurrected. Our soul, our spirit goes immediately into the presence of God. What happens to a Christian when they die? They go into God's presence. Paul said to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. At one point he wrote, I have a desire to depart and be with Christ, which is far better. And the point is that if he were to die, he would immediately go to be with Christ. And that is the hope that every Christian has. The moment you take your last breath on earth, you take your first breath in heaven. You close your eyes on earth, and you open them in heaven. So this is a promise that God has given to all of us. And I love this verse in John chapter 11. and I love to quote it, and I love to think about it, and I just feel like there's so much in it, and it's helped me on many occasions.
Beautiful. The hope, the final hope.
Yeah, the only hope.
The only hope.
Yeah.
All right, good morning to you. Let's check out some of the headlines this morning. And, of course, yesterday was a rock and roll day as the market lost at one point over 1,100 points. Ended up down a little over 800, and this morning's futures are coming out on the green side. So, talk of recession, talk of inflation, talk of all these things. Primarily, the market is very emotional, obviously, reacts to tariffs and all these things and the problems with Canada and all that. I'm going to have Maury Sabrin on a little bit later on, who is an economist. We'll talk about this. We'll see what happens. Most people that I was listening to and reading yesterday is that the market, I think everybody would agree to a certain point, was inflated. And the scare and the worry and the uncertainty of tariffs gave it a real opportunity to adjust. And every once in a while it does have adjust. The thing you got to remember is corporate America is still making a lot of money.
Right.
And so these adjustments are out there. I got texts and emails from people saying, Trump finally crossed the line and he's taking us down and all this stuff. Don't get me wrong, I'm not an economist. I'm not sure how the tariffs, long or short, are going to work, where this is all going to end up. But the bottom line is already today the market's starting to swing the other way. So we'll see what happens as we open up. We'll have those numbers for you coming up. In the meantime, the president's envoy to the Middle East to meet with the Crown Prince there in Saudi Arabia over making a deal with Ukraine and Russia to bring an end to the war. President Trump finally admitted that the letter that he got from President Zelensky was an apology for what happened in the Oval Office, and that they're ready to sign a deal allowing the U.S. access to the country's vast mineral resources that also would provide security against future aggression. So I think Zelensky is he goes home. He's got a lot of opposition. He won't hold an election. He's really on thin ice at home. Don't get me wrong. Ukraine didn't invade itself.
Yeah, right.
Russia's still, the problem, big problem. But what President Trump is trying to line out here is that if we work this mineral deal out and you have income coming, you have the resources to protect yourself at a level that you haven't had before. Now, the flip side of this equation is, what does President Trump do with Russia? Who knows? That's yet to be seen. But apparently Zelensky has apologized, which is interesting. In the meantime, the director of national security, Tulsi Gabbard, she's an interesting gal. Former congresswoman from Hawaii is now the director of the national intelligence. She has now pulled the security clearance of the former top Biden administration officials, as well as 51 former intelligence officers who signed the letter calling the Hunter Biden laptop Russia disinformation. So this is slowly collapsing. There's another story out that really hasn't hit the headlines, but I read it twice to make sure I was understanding. The problem with former President Biden early on was his cognitive ability really was worse than we possibly imagine. And they had electronic signing of his signature.
I'm glad you brought that up, because they looked at all of the signatures on executive orders and such, and there was only one thing that had his actual signature on it. You know what that was? When he pulled out of running for president.
When he pulled out.
That was it.
That one had his official handwriting. The rest of them were electronic, and you kind of go, who is running the government?
Who had the auto pen? That's the big question.
So in the meantime, the whole Biden-Russia collusion, Hunter laptop thing, as messy as we lived through all of that nonsense, it's not over. And there is some correction taking place, and all these people are losing their security clearance.
Wow.
And I don't know what that means, but it's something.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Greenland's back in the news, and President Trump has basically said to Greenland, look, move over to us, and you'll get billions of dollars of investment into your country. And guess what you will get that Norway can't provide.
Denmark?
Or Denmark
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
provide. Security.
Oh, yeah. That's a great point.
You're going to get You're going to get America's military up there.
Okay, let me ask you something. What motivates this? Is it strategic? Is it a military position? Is that what this really boils down to?
I think this all boils down to national security.
Okay.
I think it's a vast, land mass, obviously.
Right, but strategically
very
located.
Strategic.
Yes.
And this is a checkmate on China.
Yes.
In some ways.
Oh, you know what? You're right.
In some ways, geographically.
Yep.
It's not a very comfortable place to live, and there's not a whole lot of people.
You're
up there.
right.
But if America comes in there and takes over, so to speak, I don't know what the arrangement will be, and provides military security and jobs.
Yeah.
This will be a huge boost to Greenland. Now, whoever. I still have to go back. When was Greenland on anybody's radar?
Never. Never. Yeah.
I mean,
maybe Leif Erikson, but that was a long time ago.
Know, but it certainly is in play, and we'll see what happens with that. The problem up in Canada kind of goes up and down. The new the person who supposedly could take over for Trudeau, the banker up there. He's pretty upset with Trump, and the guy running the electricity switch up there, he's threatening to turn the power off.
Right.
All this stuff going back and forth.
Yeah.
Here's the deal I think you'll end up with. Okay. If you're going to charge us X amount, we're going to charge you X amount.
Yeah.
That'll be the final deal.
Right, yeah.
Right now, you're charging us and we're not charging you.
Yes.
So we're threatening to charge you more than you're charging us, and that's got the world upside down. I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, for the last 20 years, nobody ever pressed that point. Overnight, it's now an issue.
Is there a list of what the current tariffs look like, what we pay compared to what some of these other countries pay? So we could look and say, that's not right. That's not. We keep hearing this, but is there anything we can kind of check, kind of look at?
Okay, that's a great question. And at one time, there was a list.
Okay.
And I don't know if it was authentic or not.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I saw the list and I thought, all right, if you go back to when President Trump was a teenager and he was on Oprah.
Okay, yeah, and they loved him.
And, and he was on the Phil Donahue show and all that.
Oh,
he went through all those shows.
Yes.
He kept saying that we're being ripped off.
He did. Yes.
Clear back there. And he had something in mind, and it was all these tariffs and everything else, that the trade really wasn't fair trade. It was just trade. He's trying to equal the table. He's getting a lot of flack for it.
Yeah.
And he has shaken the market. Yeah. Now, did he go too far? I don't know. Yeah. I'll talk to more about that coming up a little bit later on. All right, well, excuse me. What is our food today?
Oatmeal nut pancake. Waffles. Waffles.
Maybe that'll take the tickle away from me.
Have a little bacon on the side, sausage, an egg on top.
Oh, yeah. Boy, you're going for the whole thing.
I'm in.
You're going for the
Yes,
sandwich.
Let's do it.
He's back.
With all your strength, with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength.
Looking for the perfect RV adventure?
Team Toner's got you covered from homes to Homes on Wheels.
Discover unbeatable deals only at American RV in Southern Oregon.
At Sweet Tea Express, we've got you covered. Order at the counter and our friendly service staff will do the rest. Burgers, salads, sandwiches, barbecue platters, sides, and more. Smoked, grilled, and served to perfection. Sweet Tea Express. Breakfast, burgers, and barbecue.
Spring is around the corner and summer is on its way. With fire danger biting at its heels, flammable blackberries and underbrush will grow like gangbusters and sprout fire danger in no time. A wise property owner knows the best time to take care of fire danger is to extinguish it before it gets started. GMV Forestry, LLC can help you protect your property with adequate fire brush clearing to fireproof a zone around your precious property. With over 35 years experience, GMV Forestry LLC has the knowledge, experience, and all the equipment you need to get the job done right, offering a wide variety of services like mulching, field mowing, snow removal, driveway clearing, ditch cleaning, gravel delivery and spreading, driveway sweeping, logging, and more. GMV Forestry LLC does it all, and they do it right. GMV Forestry LLC, the team you can trust. 541-660-6445. 541-660-6445.
At Kelly's Automotive Service,
being good stewards of what God has entrusted to us
is at the core of our business.
We believe what we do matters.
Every interaction, every transaction is another opportunity
to bring Christ's values into the marketplace.
If you're a technician who wants to be part of something bigger,
or just looking for a new shop to bring your vehicle,
we would love to meet you.
We're Kelly's Automotive Service,
where we service your vehicle,
but take care of you.
Hi, welcome back. Happy Tuesday to you, and a lot going on in the news. Well, I bring this up. This is kind of like after the fact, but I just want to make you aware of it. Yesterday was the deadline to file complaints and concerns on Senate Bill 762, which basically was the wildfire hazardous maps that came out in Oregon.
Okay.
And what's so frustrating about this, there was quite the town hall meeting on this at the White Mountain Middle School in White City on Saturday, and hundreds of citizens showed up to talk about it, and it was good. Senator Noah Robertson was there. Senator Jeff Golden, who's primarily the architect of this mess. Representative Emily McIntyre was there. Jackson County Commissioner Colleen Roberts were there. And the problem with this is, to me, this is typical of how liberal nonsense works. You come up with something, you hold a public hearing, and you give everybody a voice, and they think they've been heard, and they go back and they implement it anyway.
Right, right.
And so this fire map thing, and why it is even existing,
yes,
is ridiculous. And we can have areas, but the moment you allow your house to be in or out of a zone, and for a legislator to get up and say it won't impact your insurance or it won't impact your bank loan is baloney. Everybody's feeling this.
Yep.
And I don't know that all the complaints had to be filed, or what they call appeals, had to be filed by yesterday. And I do know that citizens around the state are really up in arms about this. And this needs to be hung on the beak of Senator Jeff Gold. I know Jeff. Jeff and I have done shows together. We've done Left and Right. We've done this thing. And okay, but and Jeff and I couldn't be further apart on this issue. But this is a typical deal where they put something out, they get it through committee, and they get it over to public hearings, which is really almost a waste of time, other than the fact that it does make the citizenry aware of what's going on.
Right.
There is an open window. It closed yesterday. The point being is we'll see where this goes now. But if this map is implemented...
Well, it's got me. I bet it has you.
It's got me.
Yeah, right.
And I look at this and I'm going, why are you doing this?
Right.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think that the areas of requiring people to clear brush away from their home and all that, that's fine. I have no problem with that. That's just common sense.
Right, and we've done that.
Yeah, and you can come up and encourage people, well, you need to move that back. I get all that.
Yeah.
But to turn around and put you in a pin in a map that the insurance company's going to come along and just say, have a nice day, we're done with you.
Right.
You're in a high-risk area.
Right.
This is absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I hope and pray that those who attended spoke. I hope that the appeals and the pushback is seen and heard. And I understand the governor is kind of waffling on this, and she may pull it. She may pull it.
Okay, all right. I would like to see it all pulled. And if it's not pulled, is it clear whether we have a right of challenge on this for individual properties?
I think what we'll end up with this one is possibly a state referendum of the people, because all of a sudden, if you lose, listen to this. If you lose insurance on your house, the bank can call your note.
Absolutely, 100%. Yep.
What are you going to do?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
And who's going to buy it?
And, yeah. And who's going to pay my insurance so I don't lose it?
I don't know. This is just what this is, in my opinion. Just my opinion. This is a classic liberal move to put government more in control of your life.
Yes. Yes.
And this is crazy. So I hope we'll see where this goes. Maybe now what we ought to do is continue to write letters to the governor, politely, don't get me wrong here, and encourage the governor to pull this. And don't sign it, pull it.
Are they having these forums like they had in White City in other parts of the fire
I would
zones
assume they
state?
are.
Yeah?
I would assume, because I think by law they have to have that.
Okay. Are they going to listen to anybody in these forums?
See, that's my point.
Yeah.
That's my point. I'll tell you what I want to say here, though, that's to me it's correct. I am so glad that Senator Robertson showed up and that Representative Emily McIntyre showed up and that Colleen Roberts showed up.
Yes.
Because those are three voices sitting there against Jeff Golden in behalf of the people that were speaking clear and common sense to this. And this is crazy. But anyway, don't get me going. But I just think that people work all their lives for their home.
Yeah.
And then something like this drives them out.
You know what? I got to tell you the truth. This was weird. When we got our letter on this thing, it almost felt like I got a letter from the IRS.
There you go.
Seriously.
That's how it feels.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's the point. The point is, with lefts, what they want to do is intimidate you with government intimidation.
Yeah.
So you just cow down.
Oh, man. Oof.
The American dream is private property.
Yeah.
That's the core of the American dream.
Hey, Luke Bryant sang it best in a country song, Buy Dirt.
Buy dirt.
Buy dirt. It's a great song.
Buy dirt. All right, let's take a look at the satellite image. Here's what's going on out there. And we have a nice day today, but a change is coming. You can see it.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a series of on and off showers. It looks like right on through the weekend.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing.
Mild temperatures on the valley and maybe a little cooler and snow at the top.
Yeah, through the weekend, through Monday, with daytime highs staying in the upper 40s. Yeah. So it's going to be cold up on the hill, cold enough anyway to get some snow. And hey, we got another blast for spring skiing here. No. I might have to take a little more time off. Oh, excuse me. Did I say that out loud?
You did.
I apologize. Okay. Well, speaking of out loud, did you see that TikTok of the fight theme that those the Democrats did? Oh my gosh! I just watched that and I thought, what are you guys thinking?
That's seventh grade.
It is it's so junior high. Well, Trump nominee for U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, joins the Evening Edit to give his take on the Democrat Party's TikTok messaging. Check this out.
Honestly, it was like watching outtakes of Jane Fonda's workout video from the 80s. I've not seen anything that bizarre, I can't think, in decades. And then when the Congresswoman goes out and says, "We don't just hold the bag, I am the bag," I thought, did she really just say that? Right. I mean, it just can't get worse. And we watch this on the Republican side and look at it and say, why are they helping us so much? Do they want us to keep winning? Because, my gosh, I can't think of anything they could do that would make it easier for people to say, I'm done with the Democrats, I'm joining the Trump train, and I think that's what's happening across America. People were outraged by what happened at the president's speech, when the Democrats couldn't even applaud for children who have overcome cancer, or a kid getting appointed to West Point. That was bad enough. And then they put out these videos that just make them look like they've lost their ever-loving minds. Keep it up, Democrats. We'd like to stay the majority party and build on the base we have.
There's another part of this.
Go ahead.
It's vulgar.
Yeah. Well, a lot of what they do is vulgar,
But, I mean, this is, you want your kids acting like this?
Right.
This is how, you're teaching your kids that when you don't get your way, you do videos and you show yourself fighting and you're using vulgar language to communicate with.
That is so true, yeah. Yes.
I mean, I have never seen the word used openly as much as they have in the last 2 weeks on video.
Right. Right.
Okay, well, I don't know what to say.
You know, you're at a loss. You think, you know, how low can they go? Well, they keep finding new depths.
Well, you know, there's a sad part about this. where is their moral mooring?
Yeah. Yes.
Where is their sense of decency?
Yeah. Right.
Where is their sense of respect? It's all gone. Now, don't get me wrong. Everybody's gone crazy, but I mean, the point being on this one, something is really missing. Yes, it's spiritual. I understand that, but the point is, they are displaying a lack of any evidence of morality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes.
It's and then of course what the comeback is. Well, whose morality?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's their comeback. Whose morality?
Well, you can tell where their morality doesn't come from.
Well, there you go. Good point. All right. Well, walnut. Is it walnut?
No, it is oatmeal nut.
Oatmeal nut
with some bacon and sausage and maybe.
No, you're adding that.
And
I saw the script.
An over easy egg on top. I'm ready.
Okay, well.
Are there health benefits to oatmeal nut and nuts in your?
Oh, I'm sure there is.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure there is.
I always do that. You know, when there's all these fads going on, I always go, hey, Google, what are the health benefits of blank?
Yeah.
And then it pops up.
Well, wait a minute, it's not oatmeal. That's healthy.
Right. Yes.
Unless you have grain allergies.
Yeah. Well, you know.
Or nut allergies.
You know you're in trouble when Google says back, or Siri says back, there are absolutely no health benefits in blank. Yeah. You think, uh-oh, strike that one.
Yeah. So are there going to be pictures of RFK pointing his finger on packages at you?
Oh, yeah. oh, I wonder.
You know, you're going to buy this, there's a picture of him going, don't do this.
Are Fruit Loops going to be one color? Tan? Beige?
I don't know.
Like Cheerios?
Okay.
I don't know.
All right, we'll do a hunt break. We'll be right back.
Finding that next great series to binge watch is fun, but your neck, shoulders, and body don't count that as me time. Hi, I'm Tamara Miller, owner of Organic Element Spa, and I invite you to put down the remote, get off the couch, and schedule yourself some real me or we time with your favorite service, like one of our many massages, couples massages, or facials. Your health, safety, and comfort are always top priority with us at Organic Element Spa. We can't wait to see you. Book your appointment today.
Buying or selling a home can be stressful. It's one of the biggest decisions you'll make in your lifetime. That's why it's important to work with someone you trust, someone who has the right experience and knowledge of the market.
Hi, we're Patrick and Paulina Leiser with Leiser Real Estate Group.
And whether you're looking to buy or sell a home, our mission is to take the stress out of the transaction and make it as seamless and rewarding as possible.
Contact us today. We look forward to working with you.
Grange Co-op, where big ideas grow.
Welcome back, 1:30 on a nice Tuesday morning with a change in the weather coming. So we'll take a look at that. In the meantime, so much going on around the world. Let's check in with CBN Newswatch, get caught up on the Middle East and maybe the big deal.
This is CBN Newswatch.
It is Tuesday. Going to begin this half hour with Iran's reaction to a warning from President Donald Trump. Negotiate or face military action. That is the president's message as he says the Iranian regime cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. CBN's national security correspondent Caitlin Burke brings us this look at Iran's mixed response.
President Trump said last week that he'd written Iran's Ayatollah Khamenei urging negotiations on a new nuclear deal with Washington. Saturday, Khamenei initially rejected the offer, claiming Trump would just be looking to exert dominance and impose new demands. Now the regime says talks are back on the table. Iran's foreign ministry spokesman maintains a letter from President Trump never made it to leadership. He adds that negotiations will be considered as long as talks stick to concerns about the militarization of its nuclear program. While Iran's messaging appears unclear, in an interview with Fox News, President Trump says the regime is running out of time.
The time is happening now. The time is coming up. Something's going to happen one way or the other.
Former State Department advisor Gabriel Nerona, now with Polaris National Security, says the regime isn't in a position to ignore the offer of diplomacy.
Their proxies in Iraq are starting to show signs of weakening. Syria is gone. Hezbollah is decimated. Hamas is decimated, and they have the Houthis left as now their strongest proxy. This is not an Iran that is able to carry out the massive destructive threats against Israel and the United States that there were when President Trump was in office the first time.
Nerona says military action could make things tenuous for Iran because the regime doesn't have much else to lose.
I think what the regime fears the most is that the regime, without that nuclear safety net, would be on the verge of collapse. And that if the Israel and the United States are striking its programs, that the Iranian people would rise up. And so they're going to be prepared to do absolutely anything in their power to respond in the event of an attack.
According to the latest report from the International Atomic Energy Agency, Iran's enriched uranium is up to 60% purity near weapons grade, and it could have enough for as many as 6 bombs. The agency now warns the situation is of serious concern and time for diplomacy is running out.
President Trump, as well as all of his predecessors, have said they will not permit Iran to get a nuclear weapon. Iran is on the threshold now, really on the threshold of a nuclear weapon. And so the implicit threat is that military force is the alternative if Iran is not willing to come to the table and resolve this peacefully.
Iran, China, and Russia kicked off annual joint military exercises Monday in the Gulf of Oman. Despite this growing partnership, Nerona says while it's something to watch, he doesn't believe China and Russia would provide much support if the U.S. takes military action on Iran. Caitlin Burke, CBN News, Washington.
I want to turn now to the situation in northern Israel. After the warfare with Hezbollah, thousands of Israelis who were chased from their northern border homes can now finally return. Even after months of rocket attacks, some families are eager to rebuild, while others still are not sure. CBN's Chuck Holton traveled to the north to see how the recovery is unfolding.
The last time our CBN News crew visited Kiryat Shimona in Israel's north, it was a virtual ghost town. And rocket attacks from Hezbollah were an everyday reality. Fine line between brave and stupid. Here we go again. Here we go again.
Get down, get down.
Now, with 2 months of relative peace, more than 60,000 Israelis displaced from their homes are able to return. Life, though, is far from normal as businesses struggle to reopen with only a fraction of residents back home.
We had to evacuate from Bet Hillel. We couldn't stay here. The army asked us to leave Bet Hillel because they're afraid from the bombs.
Hope is budding along with spring. Although there are still concerns, things may never be the same.
In the first week, I couldn't stop crying all the time. Until the hostages come home, our joy will not complete.
This farm outside Kiryat Shimona, just a few miles from the Lebanese border, is known for these beautiful oranges and the pecans that they grow here. But right now, they're having a hard time finding anybody to come and help them harvest these things. These trees are full of fruit right now. But the foreign-born workers that usually come from Thailand and elsewhere to help them, many of those guys have already moved on to other jobs. And so they are hoping that they can get people to come back and help them get their fruit to market. Now the family's working to rebuild and welcome guests again.
We cleaned everything and start to plant everything, renew everything, and now people start to come back.
For those who have returned, hope remains their region can be rebuilt and return to normal.
To see people come here is amazing. To come back, to see everything come to life again, it's amazing. Sometimes I just stare and speechless of what's happening here.
Gosh, the twists and turns of that.
Yeah.
Over here people are dying, and over here people are returning home, and over here they're corpse in the streets in Syria. I mean, the dynamics of the Middle East is just mind-boggling.
And tough to comprehend at times.
It is.
Well.
It's hard to process through your mind. It really is. All right, good morning to you. Well, here's somebody that's easy to process.
The first in a series of fronts is starting to move over the top of our region. So today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, a chance of rain with spots of patchy fog and daytime high temperatures in the low 50s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville. Moving down the Willamette Valley, mostly cloudy with patchy morning fog and a chance of late afternoon showers with daytime highs in the low 50s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene. Mostly cloudy skies across the central Oregon high desert with daytime highs in the low to mid 50s for Prineville, Bend, and Sun River. Over in Boise, Idaho, mostly sunny and mid 60s. Along the Oregon coast, rain and patchy fog in near 53 in Coos Bay. Early patchy fog with a chance of rain in low 50s for Port Orford and Brookings. In Crescent City, California, a chance of showers in near 53. In southern Oregon, patchy, dense morning fog in the Rogue Valley, then mostly cloudy to partly sunny in upper 50s for Grants Pass, Medford, and Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, partly sunny and mid 50s. Into northern California, increasing clouds in upper 50s in Wairika and near 67 in Redding. Sunny and breezy in Chico and Sacramento with daytime highs in the upper 60s and gusts up to 25 miles per hour. In the Bay Area, sunny with highs in the mid-60s for Santa Rosa and Napa. Sunny and breezy in San Francisco with a high near 62. And today in San Jose, early patchy fog before 7 a.m., then sunny with a high near 68. It's a look at your Tuesday weather on the Dove.
Okay, beautiful shot, sunrise, kind of, sort of, with some clouds coming in, so a little of everything going on out there this morning.
Lovely thing. Well, when you hear certain theme songs, you know exactly which TV program they go to, and that is the case with a show that debuted on this day in history.
Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys.
March 11th, 1989, Cops, a documentary-style television series that follows police officers and sheriff's deputies as they go about their jobs, debuts on Fox. Cops went on to become one of the longest-running shows in television history. The show, which was created by John Langley and Malcolm Barber, was a pioneer in reality television. Crews with camcorders followed law enforcement officers on patrol, tracking down suspects and making arrests. The show was unscripted, which worked in Langley and Barber's favor when they pitched the original concept to Fox. At the time, there was a writer's strike in Hollywood, and the network needed new programming that wouldn't require writers. In 1989, the debut episode of Cops featured the men and women of the Broward County Sheriff's Department in Florida. The show aired over 1,000 episodes and filmed in 140 U.S. cities as well as international locations including London and Hong Kong. With its widely recognized theme song, Bad Boys, by the reggae group Inner Circle, Cops has spawned numerous imitators.
Well,
yeah. And you know what? Remember cancel culture? Back in 2020, this was under the umbrella of Paramount. Paramount canceled them because of the George Floyd protests.
Oh.
But Fox Nation picked up the show in September of 2021, and they got it back on the air by the next month, October of 21, and it's still running in production right now. Yep. So they didn't get canceled for long.
Well, it's an interesting program, and the other thing is you got to appreciate people in blue.
Oh, yeah.
What they have to go through.
Oh, yeah.
And I've often wondered about the camera guys filming this thing because, I mean, this is live stuff.
They're kind of in the line of fire.
They are.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
So,
well, listen, mentoring is really something. So moms and grandmoms mentoring young girls.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the Bible's pretty clear about that.
Yeah.
That we're supposed to reach back and help. And so Jody at Focus on the Family tackles this. Do we have Jody?
The Bible is clear. Titus 2 and elsewhere in Scripture, intergenerational friendships and mentorship roles are prioritized by the Lord. He wants the older women to be teaching the younger women. And for the older women, let me just say, I'm an older woman. We can feel intimidated sometimes, thinking, what do we have to offer? These young gals, they have so much going on and they're so on it. And yet, older mamas, be alert, look around, don't be intimidated feeling like mentorship has to be so structured and meeting for coffee once a week. Just get together with someone, say go for a walk, or maybe a young mom in your neighborhood has a baby, offer to go for a stroll with them. The whole mentorship and discipleship thing can really happen organically as you reach out and become friends, just on a very natural level. And younger moms, I want to encourage you a couple of things. Find an intergenerational church. If you're not already part of that kind of a body, a lot of those relationships can be cultivated there. There's wisdom to be found there. And don't be afraid to go up to an older woman. You might just be looking at how she interacts with people in your church, in your neighborhood, and you think, I bet she has some wisdom there. She would be honored. She would be flattered to come alongside you. Just say, hey, do you have time to meet for coffee? Do you have time to go for a walk? Could we have a phone call one day? I promise you, she'll be grateful. So don't hesitate. Go ahead and reach out.
Great advice. Yep.
And be patient. Listen, don't talk.
That's a key ingredient, I think.
Listen, don't talk. Okay. It's hard to do.
Tell me about it.
Well, sitting alongside of you is like, I realize, you know, on and off the air, you have an opinion about everything.
Thanks a lot.
Oh, well.
Let me say this about that.
I don't know. Can I take a break? Is that all right? Does that meet your approval?
Please.
All right, we'll be right back.
The Lennox iComfort S30 thermostat can sense changes in your environment. It even knows when you come and go. So now your home's most important system is also the smartest.
Metal Masters can give you the smartest home comfort system available. It knows when you're away and adjusts when allergens and humidity get uncomfortable. Trust Metal Masters to provide perfect air for your family.
Lennox. Air is life. Make it perfect.
Life is complicated enough. Why worry about what to do with your extra car? Skip the costs of maintaining it, storing it, insuring it, or renewing registration. Car repairs? Forget about it. Here's one easy solution to your car problem. Donate it to our station. It's fast, free, tax deductible, and if you donate, you're going to feel incredible knowing you're supporting quality programming. Interested? Just call this toll-free number or donate online. Thank you.
Romans 1:20 tells us God's power is revealed in creation. Yet 2 Corinthians 4:4 reminds us that Satan has blinded many to the gospel. At the Life Outdoors, we've seen the truth of God, His eternal power and divine nature displayed in every mountain and stream. Follow along and let's wake the wild within. The mountains don't lie. Where there's truth, there's Jesus.
Happy, what is it?
Tuesday. It's my Monday. Everybody else's Tuesday.
All right. Good morning to you. Well, recently, the other day, I had Brian Reisinger on and asked him for his take on impact on the American farmer will tariffs have. Now, he is an amazing young man, grew up on a small farm in Wisconsin, and now has become quite the writer of the American farmer and the whole agricultural industry. And I did have him explain the difference between big ag and the American farmer, and there is a huge difference. But anyway, I asked him about the tariffs on Mexico and Canada and China and what impact it'll have on the American farmer, and here's what he had to say.
Well, I'll tell you, and I know you know this well, farmers are often caught between issues. And so farmers want us to get tougher on trade. And so in some ways, they appreciate a tougher stance, and they know that can deal with historical issues that have held prices down and led to unfair trade standards for a long time. At the same time, we have to be careful about foreign retaliation impacting our farmers. And what we're going through right now is farmers want us to negotiate tougher. They also have to deal with the fact that when we put tariffs on things, Canada and Mexico will also put tariffs on those things. That makes it more expensive and harder for farmers to sell their goods abroad. And then we also have the issue of fertilizer that is imported from Canada that will become more expensive because of tariffs. Now, here's the thing. The Trump administration has been hearing these concerns and has been making some adjustments. So they've made a delay in those tariffs to let negotiations with Canada and Mexico continue. We can hope those are fruitful negotiations. And they're going to, it looks like, have a carve-out for a key fertilizer component that won't have tariffs on it. So they're trying to be tough, and we're also seeing how challenging that can be without having an impact on the farmer that is in such a fragile economic situation in this country.
So there's a classic example. So a lot of fertilizer comes out of Canada for the farmer. The broad brush tariffs that the president was imposing immediately got pulled back, and they're calling that negotiations, okay? And looks like it'll reach over, and there might be an exception, fertilizer being one of them. But what's happened here is, and this sounds pro-Trumpish, and I'm not that. What I'm trying to say is that the way he's doing business brings an issue to the table for negotiation. Otherwise, everything just stays stagnant. And so you got to give it to him for bringing these things in. At the end of the day, I believe what the president's looking for is equal tariffs.
Yeah, that's that's the message we seem to be getting. Yes.
Yeah, that we have been. He uses the term ripped off.
Yeah.
Because a lot of countries impose tariff goods coming into the United States, but we don't reciprocate that.
Right.
So now, do you like his way of doing business? A lot of people don't.
Right.
Does it get the job done? Looks like it does.
Yeah.
And so, according to Brian there, that whoever thought that the American farmer would be impacted by fertilizer coming out of Canada. The other issue that's coming out of Canada is lumber. We get a lot of lumber out of Canada, and electricity comes out of Canada. So how do you balance this when everybody's waving their saber in the air?
Right, right.
It's a tough deal.
And are there different issues really when it comes to Canada and Mexico as far as tariffs? Because we look at parity about something that's equal, and as you mentioned, Donald Trump's been talking about this for years, way before he threw his hat into the public into running for president. But on the other hand, looking at China, because we're throwing tariffs at China as well. And China, I think, has a unique issue and a problem in itself, and that is we buy a lot of goods from China that are made at very low labor costs. And I think a lot of the price differences come in those. They can pay their workers, cents on the hour, pennies on the hour, compared to what ours do. How will we ever have some kind of a balance in trade with that situation?
Well, there's two things there. One is the difference in dealing with Mexico and China is primarily at the moment being motivated by the flow of fentanyl.
Yes.
So fentanyl is becoming the motivator to get China and Mexico slowed down. I mean, whoever thought Mexico would gather up some cartel leaders and send them to the United States? So they're feeling it loud and clear. The China thing, you're right, if I can use the term cheap labor, okay. The president is trying to give incentives for companies to leave China and come back to America, give them all kinds of incentives to rebuild here. Which they need to do. But China has a real problem. It's called their own economy. Okay, and China is a typical dictator. We're more interested in military dominance than we are families and anything else like that. But I think the squeeze on China is first motivated by the fentanyl, second motivated by the fact that they have stolen intellectual property.
Bingo, yes.
And that has to stop.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. I don't know if you saw the article, but apparently there's an article that came out yesterday about Gavin Newsom and his connection to Chinese companies and the sweetheart deal started when he was mayor of San Francisco to bring in Chinese companies into San Francisco, which they came in droves. And so this, I think, could be an issue that comes up and haunts him in futures.
Well, it's called Fool's Gold, the article, the book is, and it names him, Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff. A bunch of them are in on this deal of placating to China.
Yes.
And then even Mark Zuckerberg yesterday got caught on something.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't see that.
He was basically saying, I'll guarantee censorship if you let us have Facebook in China. And the memos came out.
Really?
Yeah, so he's got some explaining to do.
Oh, man.
But China is feeling the squeeze worldwide. I mean, we had the case in Missouri where the Attorney General won a $24 billion judgment against China. China wasn't in the courtroom. China doesn't have any intentions of paying it. So what do you do?
Yeah, what do you do?
You seize China property in the state.
Yeah.
You seize the agricultural property.
Right.
You seize their buildings. You seize this stuff. So China's starting to feel the squeeze now. And Greenland is all about China. And so, and Russia. And
And of course, we didn't realize how active and involved China was around the Panama Canal.
Yeah, and look at that's already getting pushed back.
It's already being pushed back, yes.
But the thing about American companies that went and did business in China because of cheap labor.
Yeah.
Shame on them allowing China to make a deal where they ended up buying their, or not buying, but getting their intellectual property.
Yes. Yes.
Now they're paying the price for it, and they need to get out of there and come back. If you want to invent something new, you don't want to do it in China because they're going to own it.
Yes.
Apple needs to get out of there and come home. If they're going to come up with a new whatever, they may want to do it in the United States and own it. Over there, China owns the intellectual property.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
At least that's how I see it. And I'm nothing. I know nobody. I just read
I think
things.
you got it right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know that. I'm running for nothing. I'm running for I would say I'd run for the border, but that's a problem now.
I think you're right. You ready to pay a tariff?
I just think I'm just going to leave the country, but where do you go? You're in trouble. So maybe I just run for office.
Oh, you know
get out of trouble.
You made a good point there. Are we going to have any issues, when for cross-country travel, like going into Mexico and going into Canada for your vacation? Is that ever going to pop up?
I think look, we're in this 60 days of a new administration. Give it some time to settle down.
We will.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Well, we have seen items that seem to have no apparent value sell at auction for some ridiculous prices. And here is another example. A single flaming hot Cheeto said to be shaped like a Charizard from the Pokemon anime and gaming franchise was auctioned for $87,840. The Golden Auction House said the oddly sculpted snack, dubbed Cheetozard, opened bidding at $250 in February and was sold to an unnamed bidder for $72,000 plus a buyer's premium, a total of $87,840. The 3-inch long Cheeto is affixed to a custom Cheetozard Pokemon card and encased in a transparent box. Golden said the Cheeto was discovered and preserved by sports memorabilia company First and Goal Collectibles sometime between 2018 and 2022. Images of the snack went viral on social media in 2024. Come on, a Cheeto. It's a Cheeto.
Cheeto art. You got to be kidding me.
It's called Cheetozard.
Cheetozard.
And of course, and for zero, you can be, no, I'm not even going to go there. I was going to say libtard. That's a different deal. We'll talk about that at the break. But yeah, Cheeto, that's a Cheeto for over $80,000.
All right, kids, I tell you what you ought to do now.
What?
Go get a box of Cheerios and start gluing them together and make something.
Oh, yes.
Just take Cheerios and start making
Cheerio art. Yes.
Cheerio art.
There you go.
Oh, gosh. And then send it over to RFK
My
Jr.
question is this. First of all, somebody's got too much money. If they're going to spend $87,000 on a Cheeto,
It's
give me a break.
eventually going to rot.
That's going to rot, but they put it in a case. What's he going to put it in the freezer?
I don't know.
I don't know. Oh,
So, does somebody break into his house and steal this?
Steal the Cheeto. They took my Cheeto.
All right, well, anyway, take 2 Timothy 1:7. It makes more sense. For God did not give us the spirit of fear. No, but of power and love and a sound mind. That comes from the Lord today. Take that with you. 2 Timothy 1:7. Stick around. I don't know if it's Cheetos or walnut pancakes or something.
I couldn't believe that my kid, a woman of faith, a family who followed Christ, could have such a horrible diagnosis. Like, why my kid? I wanted to walk away from my faith. I realized in that moment I had no control. The only person that has control is God. And when I came to that realization, I prayed for the first time in months. And I said, God, I give my son to you.
Watch the 700 Club Tuesday morning at 11 on the Dove TV.
Big ideas grow.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian-owned and operated, pet-friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site 24/7 in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare where your loved one can spend the day with us and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living, your home.
Your property demands equipment with more reliability, durability, and versatility built in. Kubota equipment is ready to get the job done right.
Romans 1:20 tells us God's power is revealed in creation. Yet 2 Corinthians 4:4 reminds us that Satan has blinded many to the gospel. At the Life Outdoors, we've seen the truth of God, His eternal power and divine nature displayed in every mountain and stream. Follow along and let's wake the wild within. The mountains don't lie. Where there's truth, there's Jesus.
You're watching the Dove TV, encouraging and informative for Yuba City and Northern California. Seen on KYUB 15, KKPM 28, and these Dove TV affiliates.
All right, good morning and happy Tuesday to you. Welcome to Mornings on the Dove, where Jerry Bilden finally found his way home.
Thank you. I did. It was not easy, but I did.
He's somewhat prodigal.
Well, you know.
Have you seen that Liberty commercial where the big bird leaves the home?
Oh, yes. He says, you can't make it selling Liberty Insurance. And 5 years later.
And he's coming back. Well, I'll be.
Well, I'll be.
That's kind of like well, I'll be. You're back.
I'm like an emu.
Yeah, like an emu, yeah. The only thing missing is a stick and your little pack on the end of it there. Anyway, good morning to you. Happy Tuesday. A lot in the news. Always is. We'll get to it. One more day of fairly nice weather, but you're going to see the change starting today. And then on on and off showers through the rest of the week and into the weekend. Get ready for that. Anything special today?
Well, today is a day that we recognize those who remind us. In fact, we should be reminded to thank the professionals who consider every need during the most challenging times in our lives, and that is the loss of someone near and dear to us. It is National Funeral Director and Mortician Recognition Day, and we do that on this day.
Tough job.
Yep, my first cousin Jimmy, he did it for years and years, a retired mortician. And it's interesting too, he was a mortician in a little farm community. So everybody that you are taking care of and the families that you are with are all people that you grew up with.
People dying to see you.
People are dying to, you know, that brings up an old joke.
Well, there's a lot of jokes out there.
I know. It's like, that's a real popular cemetery. People are dying to get in there.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I remember my first job in news. We had to go to, this is no joke. I don't mean to be, over the top here.
Yeah.
But, I don't think I was on the job maybe a month. I was a pilot, and for the radio station, and the news director made us go to the county morgue and sit in on an autopsy.
Oh, no way.
Yes.
Really?
Made us do that.
Oh.
Because if you couldn't do that, you couldn't be in news. Because they didn't know what you could take.
No kidding.
And that was the test.
Wow.
And I'm sitting next to this little gal that just, boom, she fell over. Stuff like that. So it's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, it is. And it's interesting. My dad
I've done enough funerals.
Yeah. My dad passed almost a couple years ago, and we had a memorial service for him in my hometown. And he had a spot in our town cemetery. And my cousin Jimmy, who's the mortician, preached at his graveside.
Really?
And he's a very effective preacher. I mean,
he's a mortician preacher?
Yeah, absolutely. He preached the gospel. I mean, it was amazing.
That's wonderful.
And I had a chance to walk around that little cemetery that I grew up around, and I looked at all the graves, and my grandparents are all in there, and cousins and
good for you.
Aunts and uncles and parents of friends of mine that I grew up with, and I thought of my cousin Jimmy because he took care of all of them.
Wow.
And I thought, what a great call in his life and in the lives of these people that he touched, because he was such a genuine, true believer, and one not afraid to preach the gospel.
Well, do you ever just go to a cemetery and look?
Yep, I have many times.
Wayne Brennan, one of the first people came over on the Mayflower. If you go to Providence, Rhode Island, you go up on the hill there, you can literally stand over his grave.
Oh.
And so I've been there. But if you really want an experience in Southern Oregon, go to the Jacksonville Cemetery.
Oh, I bet, yes.
No, they actually have, they have, like, here's the Chinese section, here's the Russian section, here's they have the Jewish section, have these different, and you go up there and you read the names and the dates. It's pretty amazing.
Wow.
So the history we have, boy, we sure got off on
We did. Anyway, moving on.
Please.
There are these big things going on in the springtime with a lot of high school students. It's called the prom.
Oh, yeah.
Well, today is National Promposal Day. The day for high school students to ask each other, will you go to the prom with me? And I've mentioned this before.
Well, listen, this story, folks, you're about to hear is, this actually could be turned into a television program.
It could be an SNL skit. But anyway, it is the truth. I had a girlfriend when I was in high school, and I said, here's how much money I have. We can either go to the prom, or I'm going to buy a new pair of ski boots. I bought the ski boots. Ended up getting a new girlfriend. Thank you, Pam. Pam was the new girlfriend.
That was the end of that one?
Yeah, that was the end of it. But the ski boots were great. I'm telling you, it's like my grandpa told me, buy something that's going to last. Do something right with your money. If you're going to spend it, make sure it's with something that you need and it's going to last. And I needed those ski boots, and they lasted, unlike that girlfriend.
Well, okay. That's a great story.
It's true.
It's a great story.
Anyway.
So Pam owes her life to a pair of ski boots, right?
And you know what? It's funny because I took those ski boots, I went on, became a ski instructor, and that's where I met Pam. This was all providential.
Okay.
I am not kidding you.
Okay.
Yeah, and yes.
Whatever your story is.
It is the truth. Pam and I, we both admit that the only way we could have gotten together was an act of God. And that was the start of it.
Yeah,
it started on Promposal Day.
That's good.
That's the truth. It's also, I'm going to remove one word in this one. Because it's National Worship of Tools Day. We don't worship tools, but we sure do like them. So it is National Tools Day.
Oh, I got
Kids, go take your dad's tools and do something that drives him nuts.
Yeah.
Lose them in the yard.
I've always learned to buy two.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, put one away, and the other one's going to get borrowed and it's never going to come back.
Oh, well, you know, I borrow tools once in a while, but I try to return them. But I don't always succeed. And one thing to eat is National Oatmeal Nut Waffles Day. Can't say I've ever had one, but I am certainly open to it.
Certainly intriguing.
Yeah, I like. You know, the idea sounds good. I'd take some meat on the side, some bacon and sausage, put a over easy egg on top with lots of syrup.
Boy, you're going for it.
It sounds wonderful.
Well, I've had oatmeal pancakes, but never oatmeal waffles.
Oh yeah. Right.
That's good.
Yeah, and of course the thing these days in all these little kitchenettes that they have at hotels for your, it's not really a continental breakfast anymore. It's a little bit more. But they always have waffle makers now. That's the big thing. Waffle makers, and then you got like the pre-measured batter, you know, and you pour that in there and you do the thing, and it's got a timer. That's just one of the few times I actually eat waffles. Wow. I don't know, for some reason when you're in that setting, it's like when you go to the fair. When else do you eat cotton candy? It's like,
well, that's true.
That's it. Well, when I go to one of those things, I think, well, I must be eating waffles today.
Well, there you go.
So anyway, enjoy.
Okay, well, he traded a cute girl for a pair of ski boots, and he does the weather here.
But I got a cuter one.
The first in a series of fronts is starting to move over the top of our region. So today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, a chance of rain with spots of patchy fog and daytime high temperatures in the low 50s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville. Moving down the Willamette Valley, mostly cloudy with patchy morning fog and a chance of late afternoon showers with daytime highs in the low 50s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene. Mostly cloudy skies across the central Oregon high desert with daytime highs in the low to mid 50s for Prineville, Bend, and Sun River. Over in Boise, Idaho, mostly sunny and mid 60s. Along the Oregon coast, rain and patchy fog in near 53 in Coos Bay. Early patchy fog with a chance of rain in low 50s for Port Orford and Brookings. In Crescent City, California, a chance of showers in near 53. In southern Oregon, patchy, dense morning fog in the Rogue Valley, then mostly cloudy to partly sunny in upper 50s for Grants Pass, Medford, and Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, partly sunny and mid 50s. Into northern California, increasing clouds in upper 50s in Wairika and near 67 in Redding. Sunny and breezy in Chico and Sacramento with daytime highs in the upper 60s and gusts up to 25 miles per hour. In the Bay Area, sunny with highs in the mid-60s for Santa Rosa and Napa. Sunny and breezy in San Francisco with a high near 62. And today in San Jose, early patchy fog before 7 a.m., then sunny with a high near 68. It's a look at your Tuesday weather on the Dove.
Okay, that's coming off the top of Mount Ashland, actually on top of the broadcast towers up there.
Yeah, that's that big golf ball up there.
Yeah.
The big volleyball or whatever you want to call it.
So that's looking, if you look down there, you can see the shadow of the lodge a little bit.
Yeah,
and that's looking east, and there's the sunrise. So pretty nice. So for those watching on the Dove Radio, you're seeing a great picture.
You know, in the hardest times in life, sometimes it's easy to feel like we are alone, but we are far from it. And Pastor Greg Laurie reminds us that God's promise is that He will always be with us.
I mentioned our son going to be with the Lord, and there was a time not long after it happened, and I was driving along, and I saw something that triggered a memory about him. And I actually said, I'll never see him again. I'll never hear his voice again. And then I just preached to myself. I said, Greg, shut up. It's kind of fun to tell yourself to shut up. Don't use the word shut up. I used it because sometimes people need to just shut up. Greg, shut up, I said. Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believes in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live, and whosoever lives and believes in me shall never die. And immediately it corrected my thinking. Immediately, even my emotion changed, though it won't always change, I have to be honest, but it changed my perspective in a nanosecond. That's right. I had to remind myself of the promise of God. But we felt this way. Lord, where were you? Where were you when my marriage dissolved? Where were you when my parents divorced? Where were you when my child went astray? Where were you when my loved one died? Well, he was there with you, and he will always be with you. And you should bring your needs and your concerns and your questions to God.
Wow.
I like that.
You ever talk to yourself like that?
Yeah. We're not supposed to say shut up, but can you say shut up to yourself?
Well, I've called myself stupid.
Well, and I'm not the only one that's called myself stupid.
Well, I know others do.
Yeah, thank you very much.
No, but I mean, you ever talk to yourself?
Yes. Unfortunately.
Well, I enjoy talking to intelligent people. That's why I talk to myself.
Sometimes I have to make decisions by committee. So you talk to yourself.
Yeah, all 5 of my personalities are getting along really well this morning. No, I understand that. I really do. Sometimes you really have to talk yourself out of things. You got to do it, you know. Yeah. And the question of why God is this happening. I just finished reading a book, and there's a couple of terms in there that stuck with me. Grace doesn't necessarily guarantee healing.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Grace does not necessarily guarantee healing.
Yeah.
And sometimes when we're asking God to lighten the load, he strengthens the back.
Good words.
So think about that.
Yes.
All right, let's take a look at some headlines this morning. It looks like the president is having an envoy getting together with Ukraine President Zelensky. He did apologize in the letter following their contentious encounter in the White House. Apparently, the president of Ukraine did send a letter and said that they apologized for what happened, and let's get together, and we're ready to sign a deal allowing the U.S. access to the country's vast mineral resources. That will also provide security against future Russian aggression, supposedly. I'm not sure how all that works. But apparently they'll be coming to the conference table, all the parties, and see if they can stop the war and make a deal.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting, too, because I think it's interesting where the apology came from. Because as we looked at the spat in the White House, the left knee-jerk reacted saying this was an embarrassment on the part of the President of the United States to treat this guy like this. And of course, the right was saying, how dare Zelensky come in there and act that way and put the kibosh on a deal that was already made. We saw Rubio's reaction to it. So now, with the apology coming, does this quiet those voices on the left who were so appalled at the president?
I think there's some confusion here, and I think for the moment it's understandable, and that is all the attention appears to be that Zelensky's the bad guy here. Okay, Zelensky isn't cooperating to solve his problem.
Right.
The bad people here are still the Russians invading. Okay, but you got to get the other guy kind of in line. And when he's canceled elections and all this and that, it is problematic. I wish somebody would send him $500 for a suit. But look, yes, he bit the hand that feed him.
Yeah.
Feeds them, and that was us.
Yeah,
billions of dollars.
And I love when Trump told him, he says, "You don't have any cards," and Zelensky's like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, he didn't know what that meant.
Yeah, he got schooled on it though.
By the way, he got literally ushered out of the White House.
Yeah.
He was told to go.
Yeah.
And they were supposed to have lunch. That didn't happen. Right. So I guess he, on lonely flights flying between countries looking for support, he got to thinking about it.
Yeah, and
he sent a letter back, said, "I'm sorry, let's get together."
Good.
So that's good. In the meantime, the new director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, quite an interesting turn in her life because she was formerly a Democrat from Hawaii, and here she is now Secretary of the National Intelligence. And she has pulled Monday. She revoked the security clearance for the former top Biden administration officials, as well as 51 former intelligence officers and officials who signed the letter calling the Hunter Biden laptop Russia disinformation.
Outstanding.
So,
outstanding.
They're just basically getting the boot.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So
we'll never forget. You know, this was a story that was broken by the New York Post, one of the oldest newspapers in this country. The laptop story. And it was labeled disinformation. They had their Twitter account pulled. Donald Trump, at the time, he reposted that. He had his Twitter account pulled. It was labeled disinformation. And then all these guys that you just listed, 51 ex-intelligence, operatives, they all signed the letter saying this had all the earmarks of a Russian disinformation campaign. And do you think that was election interference?
Well, it certainly appears to be. All this was anti-Trump stuff. And the only thing I can say is that in time, Jim Jordan in the House will be calling these people forward, even the ones that supposedly got preemptive immunity. And I think that they'll be called in. Getting that immunity doesn't allow them to use the Fifth Amendment. Now, they can they need to go through the process. They need to be on the record saying what they're going to say. They'll never go to jail. Right. But the truth needs to come out. And I think some of this stuff is yet to be seen. By the way, the other thing we haven't seen in all this stuff, especially with Doge and Musk uncovering all the fraud and everything, you know what we haven't seen yet? And it's just a matter of time.
What's that?
The kickbacks.
Oh, yes.
And that's going to be a worse list than Epstein's list.
Oh, and speaking of which, are we going to see that?
I think you will.
Okay.
It's in time.
All right.
All right. In the meantime, the president hasn't backed off on Greenland. He's pushed harder. He said, hey, you guys over there, come join us. We will give you military protection, and we will bring billions of dollars of business to your country, and we will improve your economy, and you'll have the protection of the United States. It's almost a deal you can't refuse. Denmark can't do that.
Yeah, right.
Denmark can't provide that. So we'll see what happens. Everybody's, waving their flags right now. We'll see what happens.
Okay. Question. So we kind of agree that this is strategic, that this is a valuable piece of real estate militarily.
Yeah, security-wise.
Right. Okay. So, do you have any idea what this president would do with this to increase our national security, or does just owning it or having possession of it already give us that? I wonder what his plans are.
Well, I think there's several. I don't know for exact, but there'll be some kind of military operation up there.
And military presence.
Some kind of a, whether it's strategic, whether it's submarines, whether it's
Navy,
Air Force, who knows?
Right.
There'll be some kind of military activity up there. Okay. The fact that it's under the influence of the United States will be a deal breaker for. It'll be a problem with Russia. It's going to be a problem with China.
Yeah,
that's big. It's a big piece of real estate.
Yeah.
The question is, do we look at it as a territory? Do we look at it as a state? Is it a lot line adjustment to Maine?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, Maine goes from the smallest state to the biggest state.
Oh, what a thought!
I don't know.
Oh man.
I don't know how they look at that. But anyway, Greenland is very much in the news these days.
It looks to be, yeah. Interesting. Well, we saw that with Panama Canal, too, and we've seen stuff going on there as well.
Yep.
So, interesting stuff. All right.
All right, oatmeal waffles. Kind of interesting. It's kind of working in my head right now.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian owned and operated, pet friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site 24/7 in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare where your loved one can spend the day with us and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living, your home.
Want to be part of something impactful? Rogue Valley Habitat's first ever golf tournament is teeing off at Centennial Golf Course April 25th, and the smartest businesses in Southern Oregon are jumping in. Sponsorship packages from $500 to $5,000 include course signage, event promotions, and networking opportunities. Top sponsors receive tournament team entry. Ready to be a game changer? Call Tyler Hunter at 541-261-3520 today. Rogue Valley Habitat, building community one home at a time.
Welcome back. Happy Tuesday to you. Just a little bit of a follow-up. Yesterday was the deadline for those who are interested in what's happening with Senate Bill 762 in the state of Oregon, and that is where they're trying to now push this new wildfire hazardous maps. It is very controversial, and they had the public hearings around the state, and they had one this past weekend here at the White Mountain Middle School in White City. I understand hundreds of people showed up. And what is so good to me is that we did have some good representation. Commissioner Colleen Roberts was there. Representative Emily McIntyre was there. Jeff Golden was there. He's kind of the architect behind this mess. And then you had Senator Robertson was there. And the problem with this is the state's trying to exercise control over what they would say high fire danger areas. Okay. Well, you can have this map all day long, but when you actually do the map and put people in there, and they said, oh, it'll never do anything to your insurance or your coverage or your ability to get fire protection. Baloney. It had just the opposite of it. And this is crazy, not to mention the fact we don't even know if the map is really accurate.
Right.
And so the Governor Kotek, has leaned towards pulling this. We'll see. She seems to be a little bit more reasonable, realizing that this is crazy, because if you lose fire insurance on your house, the bank can call your note.
Yeah, right.
And this is the brainchild of Senator Golden, and he's a land grab lefty, you know.
Yes.
And I know Jeff. Jeff and I have done shows together, so you know, Jeff, I can talk to you like that. You talk to me about that. So, but the point is, this is absolutely crazy. You are going to literally have people lose their homes over this.
What motivated him to do this?
It's government control. If you can control the land, you can control the water, you can control the resources, you can control the people.
Well,
this is typical liberal nonsense.
And liberals have a spin on this online as well, because I just Googled.
Yeah.
Why would they make this fire map?
Yeah.
And Google's response was, Oregon made a wildfire property map to educate residents about the level of hazard where they live. To educate well, you know what? I know I live in wildfire land. That's why I have cleared a buffer zone. That's why we have gone to great extents to make sure that our house sits in the middle of pretty much nothing, so that if there is a wildfire, we are protected. And by the way, a number of us have already gone through this. Yeah. We had the Timbered Rock fire years ago. We had fire crews come through my property many times because they said, the fire is coming right through here, but we have no problem here. Your house has a great buffer zone. You're not going to have any problems.
That's all you have to do. Is, inform people and show them how to create the buffer zone.
Right.
But when you put regulation over the top of so-called education, then you know what comes? Fines.
Yeah. Yes.
And all of a sudden you got government control, and you are fearing the government. This is crazy.
And then how do you stop insurance companies from now saying, well, let me look at this map. Let's reassess what your property.
I'll tell you what, insurance love this because it's their opportunity to get out from a high-risk area. They love it. This is money in the bank for insurance companies.
You are right, yeah.
And so they cancel your insurance. At that moment, you're now in violation of your loan requirement for your bank, and the bank could call the note.
Yep, good point.
This is crazy. The appeal window closed yesterday, but that shouldn't preclude you writing your legislator, your representative, your senator, and sending a letter to the governor. Now, do it politely, but folks, SB 762 should never see the light of day. This is crazy. So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
All right.
All right, let's take a look at Wall Street. Yesterday was a bad day. It was really bouncing around. Thank you, Preston, over at Smart Lawn. The Dow still down 338 points. That's actually down, but back up, but down again. The NAS turned around, went back up 72 points, and the S&P is down almost 11 points. So it's starting to adjust back. I'm going to have Dr. Murray Sabrin on here a little bit, and he'll help us understand this. This is a result of all the tariffs and everything else that's going on, so it's caused a lot of headache. That pushed gold back up to $29.22, silver's back up over 33, and crude oil did go up about 60 cents, $69.59 a barrel. So it's adjusting from yesterday. Somebody said yesterday, look, the tariffs became the perfect excuse to adjust the inflated market. At one point yesterday, it was down 1,100 points. It closed 800 and something down. Don't get me wrong, those are big numbers. Today, it's kind of readjusting and coming back, so give it some time. But a lot of people don't like the tariffs. Some think they're part of it. I'm going to talk to a professor on this. I think he doesn't like them, but he understands them. So we'll talk about that coming up in a little bit.
Well, a lot of things are being shaken up by this current administration, especially as DOGE looks at a lot of these things and withholding funds and federal employees, getting their buyouts and such. But Mike Huckabee joined Fox Business's The Evening Edit, and he gives this take on Donald Trump wanting to cancel $400 million to Columbia University and deport those with visas who support Hamas.
Bravo. Thank you, President Trump, for finally stepping up and recognizing that it is ridiculous for parents, particularly parents of Jewish students, to pay the kind of money it takes to go to Columbia and then have their children unable to get to class or being fear for their lives because you've got these anarchists who parade around in their little mask and pretend that they're somehow protesting something when they have no idea what they're even talking about. When they get out there and scream from the river to the sea, they probably couldn't name you the river or the sea they're even referencing. They have no idea what life is like in Israel, and it's just embarrassing. But the real embarrassment is that Columbia University didn't take the kind of strong action and expel these students, have some of them arrested when they destroy property and break into buildings, and deport those who are here who ought to be grateful for the chance to study in America. I just say thank you, President Trump, for speaking out and standing up and doing what I think 90% of Americans would like to see done on these elite college campuses.
Well, the other part of that is a lot of these people protesting aren't even students of Columbia.
Right.
In fact, some of them are from foreign countries. These are paid activists that come in and do this.
Right.
I understand Columbia University did slow down and say, okay, well, we're going to reconsider this now. And so, but $400 million is a lot of money for a university.
Well, they took one of the organizers of this Hamas movement, who is a foreign national here on a green card and living in an apartment on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, by the way, which, by the way, it's pretty high-end stuff up there. But anyway, so they grabbed him and they tried to deport him, but now a federal judge has put a stay on that, so they're holding it. They're going to look at this. So it's kind of frustrating when you look at that. And we know, I think of Steve Best and others who have been here on green cards and how tenuous and difficult that situation is. And we got a guy here who is by the way, how's he making his money? How's he being paid? Seems to be a paid agitator and an organizer of these students. And right now, it doesn't look like the government has much recourse.
Well, look, it just shows you the craziness of it and the hypocrisy of it. But $400 million speaks loud and clear.
I think so.
And you'll see them acquiesce. But the question is it a temporary adjustment to get the money and then go back to their nonsense? education needs to be totally looked at across the board. I know that the Department of Education is now under the microscope. We're telling kids that they have to have pronouns, and they don't even know what a pronoun is. And so, but they have to use a pronoun, but they don't know what a pronoun is. Man. That's how crazy all this stuff is. Yeah. But Columbia University is the worst of the worst, and I think what they ought to do, I hope the president holds that $400 million until absolute proof that they've cleaned things up.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
you know what? The president's already resigned. Columbia.
Yeah, right. Yes.
So they've already gone through that nonsense. I don't know what the new one's doing.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see. All right, we'll take a oatmeal break, I guess. Something like that.
For as long as I shall live, I will testify to love. I'll be a witness in the silences when words are not enough. With every breath I take.
Your yard is where life happens, but it can be muddy and hard to maintain. Enjoy a maintenance-free artificial turf lawn all year round with Smart Lawn LLC. No mowing, no fertilizing, no watering. Our synthetic grass is beautiful and resilient. It's certified to be lead-free, and there's no need for pesticides. Safe for your children and pets. Smart Lawn LLC has all your artificial turf and putting green areas covered beautifully. 541-941-3538.
Get ready for fun at Rogue Ski Shop Think Snow Sale. Boulder Gear clothing now 20% off. Goggles, adults starting at $29, kids starting at $26. All Scott gloves 20% off. If you ski or ride, it's time to slide into Rogue Ski Shop Medford.
God's eternal power and divine nature are seen in creation. But in a world blinded by darkness, the Life Outdoors is here to pull back the veil. The mountains don't lie. Truth leads to Jesus. Wake the wild within.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
We're talking here about the procedure of faith. After Elijah had done what God already told him to do, then the word of the Lord came to him. And that is the way the procedure of faith always works. It's the procedure of step-by-step obedience before the Lord. We obey one command, and then he gives us another. We take one step, and then he leads us to the next step. And that's very uncomfortable for me and for all of you too. Can I get a witness? We want to know the whole story. We want to see where it ends up. We want to know what problems we're going to face between A and Z. But God doesn't work that way. He leads us one step at a time.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
Welcome back. Happy Tuesday to you. Well, a lot going on in the world, more than we can keep track of at any given moment. So let's check in with CBN Newswatch and get caught up.
This is CBN Newswatch. It is Tuesday. Going to begin this half hour with Iran's reaction to a warning from President Donald Trump: negotiate or face military action. That is the president's message, as he says the Iranian regime cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. CBN's national security correspondent Caitlin Burke brings us this look at Iran's mixed response.
President Trump said last week that he'd written Iran's Ayatollah Khamenei urging negotiations on a new nuclear deal with Washington. Saturday, Khamenei initially rejected the offer, claiming Trump would just be looking to exert dominance and impose new demands. Now the regime says talks are back on the table. Iran's foreign ministry spokesman maintains a letter from President Trump never made it to leadership. He adds that negotiations will be considered as long as talks stick to concerns about the militarization of its nuclear program. While Iran's messaging appears unclear, in an interview with Fox News, President Trump says the regime is running out of time.
The time is happening now. The time is coming up. Something's going to happen one way or the other.
Former State Department advisor Gabriel Nerona, now with Polaris National Security, says the regime isn't in a position to ignore the offer of diplomacy.
Their proxies in Iraq are starting to show signs of weakening. Syria is gone. Hezbollah is decimated. Hamas is decimated, and they have the Houthis left as now their strongest proxy. This is not an Iran that is able to carry out the massive destructive threats against Israel and the United States that there were when President Trump was in office the first time.
Noronha says military action could make things tenuous for Iran because the regime doesn't have much else to lose.
I think what the regime fears the most is that the regime, without that nuclear safety net, would be on the verge of collapse. And that if the Israel and the United States are striking its programs, that the Iranian people would rise up. And so they're going to be prepared to do absolutely anything in their power to respond in the event of an attack.
According to the latest report from the International Atomic Energy Agency, Iran's enriched uranium is up to 60% purity near weapons grade, and it could have enough for as many as 6 bombs. The agency now warns the situation is of serious concern and time for diplomacy is running out.
President Trump, as well as all of his predecessors, have said they will not permit Iran to get a nuclear weapon. Iran is on the threshold now, really on the threshold of a nuclear weapon. And so the implicit threat is that military force is the alternative if Iran is not willing to come to the table and resolve this peacefully.
Iran, China, and Russia kicked off annual joint military exercises Monday in the Gulf of Oman. Despite this growing partnership, Noronha says while it's something to watch, he doesn't believe China and Russia would provide much support if the U.S. takes military action on Iran. Caitlin Burke, CBN News, Washington.
I want to turn now to the situation in northern Israel. After the warfare with Hezbollah, thousands of Israelis who were chased from their northern border homes can now finally return. Even after months of rocket attacks, some families are eager to rebuild, while others still are not sure. CBN's Chuck Holton traveled to the north to see how the recovery is unfolding.
The last time our CBN News crew visited Kiryat Shimona in Israel's north, it was a virtual ghost town, and rocket attacks from Hezbollah were an everyday reality.
Fine line between brave and stupid. Here we go again. Here we go again. Get down, get down.
Now, with 2 months of relative peace, more than 60,000 Israelis displaced from their homes are able to return. Life, though, is far from normal as businesses struggle to reopen with only a fraction of residents back home.
We had to evacuate from Bet Hillel. We couldn't stay here. The army asked us to leave Bet Hillel because they're afraid from the bombs.
Hope is budding along with spring, although there are still concerns things may never be the same.
In the first week, I couldn't stop crying all the time. Until the hostages come home, our joy will not complete.
This farm outside Kiryat Shimona, just a few miles from the Lebanese border, is known for these beautiful oranges and the pecans that they grow here. But right now, they're having a hard time finding anybody to come and help them harvest these things. These trees are full of fruit right now. But the foreign-born workers that usually come from Thailand and elsewhere to help them, many of those guys have already moved on to other jobs. And so they are hoping that they can get people to come back and help them get their fruit to market.
Now the family's working to rebuild and welcome guests again.
We cleaned everything and start to plant everything, renew everything, and now people start to come back.
For those who have returned, hope remains their region can be rebuilt and return to normal.
To see people come here is amazing. To come back, to see everything come to life again, it's amazing. Sometimes I just stare and speechless of what's happening here.
Wow.
Wow, the twists and turns of the Middle East. Wow, a lot going on there. All right, let's check out the weather with, what's his name?
The first in the series of fronts is starting to move over the top of our region. So today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, a chance of rain with spots of patchy fog and daytime high temperatures in the low 50s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville. Moving down the Willamette Valley, mostly cloudy with patchy morning fog and a chance of late afternoon showers with daytime highs in the low 50s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene. Mostly cloudy skies across the central Oregon high desert with daytime highs in the low to mid 50s for Prineville, Bend, and Sun River. Over in Boise, Idaho, mostly sunny and mid 60s. Along the Oregon coast, rain and patchy fog in near 53 in Coos Bay. Early patchy fog with a chance of rain in low 50s for Port Orford and Brookings. In Crescent City, California, a chance of showers in near 53. In southern Oregon, patchy, dense morning fog in the Rogue Valley, then mostly cloudy to partly sunny in upper 50s for Grants Pass, Medford, and Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, partly sunny and mid-50s. Into Northern California, increasing clouds in upper 50s in Wairika and near 67 in Redding. Sunny and breezy in Chico and Sacramento with daytime highs in the upper 60s and gusts up to 25 miles per hour. In the Bay Area, sunny with highs in the mid-60s for Santa Rosa and Napa. Sunny and breezy in San Francisco with a high near 62. And today in San Jose, early patchy fog before 7 a.m., then sunny with a high near 68. It's a look at your Tuesday weather on the Dove.
Well, for those watching on the Dove Radio and watching on the Dove TV, this is a gorgeous sight from the top of Mount Ashland. It's up at the dome, the very top on the broadcast towers up there, looking directly east, and the sun every second is getting a little brighter.
Yep, just coming up.
And way at the bottom of the picture, you can see a few lights in at the lodge.
What a beautiful slice of God's creation we get to inhabit. Check that out.
Look at that. Just as we talk, it's getting brighter.
Oh, I love it. All right. Well, you know, when you hear certain theme songs, you know exactly which TV program is coming on, and that is the case for a show that debuted on this day in history.
Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys.
On March 11th, 1989, Cops, a documentary-style television series that follows police officers and sheriff's deputies as they go about their jobs, debuts on Fox. Cops went on to become one of the longest-running shows in television history. The show, which was created by John Langley and Malcolm Barber, was a pioneer in reality television. Crews with camcorders followed law enforcement officers on patrol, tracking down suspects and making arrests. The show was unscripted, which worked in Langley and Barber's favor when they pitched the original concept to Fox. At the time, there was a writer's strike in Hollywood, and the network needed new programming that wouldn't require writers. In 1989, the debut episode of Cops featured the men and women of the Broward County Sheriff's Department in Florida. The show aired over 1,000 episodes and filmed in 140 U.S. cities as well as international locations including London and Hong Kong. With its widely recognized theme song, Bad Boys, by the reggae group Inner Circle, Cops has spawned numerous imitators.
And you know, Cops got canceled. Remember with the George Floyd protests back in 2020? Paramount canceled Cops, one of the longest-running TV shows in history. But Fox Nation picked it up in September of 21. It was back on the air in October and continues in production to this day.
Wow.
Pam always chuckles because it's one of my favorites. I just
You like watching it?
Oh, I love it. She goes, Jerry, it's a show about people who make bad choices. I'm like, yeah, but you know, you also have consequences for bad choices, and some of that plays out right here on the screen.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, how do you get peace in the midst of anxiety and worry? Okay? And I have to say, sometimes it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
So Jody at Focus on the Family talks about this.
We all struggle with worry. We all struggle with fear. That's the reason I think that do not worry and do not be afraid is the most oft repeated command in Scripture. And the best way that I have found to push back against that darkness, because it can be very real, is to take hold of a handful of scriptures, things that you can write down, memorize if you can, post on your bathroom mirror, slip into your purse, tuck into your journal, whatever works for you. Verses like Philippians 4, verses 6 and 7, which is God's invitation. He says, don't worry about anything. Pray about everything with thanksgiving. Tell God your needs. And he says the peace that passes understanding will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. He says, I know you're afraid, but I want you to come to me. I want you to bring me your needs and your requests. And in exchange, I'm going to give you my peace, knowing that I see. This is what God says. I see you. You're not alone. I am with you. God's presence, God's witness is the number one thing that can equip us to not be afraid, to not worry, to know, as Romans 8:28 reminds us, that in all things, the good things, the hard things, the things we don't understand, God says He is working for the good of those who love Him. God is working for your good, even if you don't see it, even if you don't feel it. You know, the Bible says we can't always tell what God is doing, and yet we can know His heart. And God's heart is for you. You can trust that.
Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah. All right, we'll take a quick break, and we'll get back and talk about farming.
Oh, okay.
Farming in America.
Yeah.
Thousands of satisfied customers make Jim Clark's Consignment Country the most recommended RV consignment lot on the West Coast. Even dealers recommend us. That success comes from dealing with only the cleanest pre-owned RVs at the best prices, no high-pressured salespeople, and treating customers with respect. And we've been doing this in the same location for over 40 years. Before you buy or sell your RV, see why so many satisfied customers recommend Jim Clark's Consignment Country. Family owned and operated at 1630 Rogue River Highway in Grants Pass.
Stewardship begins with the knowledge that nothing belongs to us, but everything belongs to the Lord. This helps us to run a business not in the fear of lack, but in the assurance of His care and provision. Such a perspective eliminates the drive to sell and replaces it with a heart that says serve. This begins with serving our clients and coworkers with integrity and genuine care. That's why McKelly's is automotive service with a heart for God, and treating others as we ourselves would want to be treated. Our promise is to never sell our clients anything we don't believe they need. Another is to do all we can to meet other needs, such as shuttle service and loaner cars, or taking the time to really listen, even at times praying with our customers. Sometimes this means sacrifice, going above and beyond. But that's why I work for Kelly's Automotive Service, honoring God while serving people with honesty and integrity.
Disasters happen, and Oregon faces a range of disaster threats, including earthquakes, floods, and storms. You can prepare now by taking 3 important steps. Create a home inventory, make copies of important financial records, and contact your insurance company to make sure you have the right amounts and types of home insurance coverage. Be disaster ready by being insurance ready. Visit dfr.oregon.gov/prepare now to learn how.
Okay, welcome back. Happy Tuesday, and beautiful shot from the top of the mountain. Can you guys put that back up real quick?
Yeah.
Can you do that? Look at this shot. Look at this. As we speak, it's live off the top of Mount Ashland this morning. Look at that sun.
Yeah, and look at the little clearing down there to the left down there. That's where the lodge is. And It's a wonderful place, but wow, what a shot.
All right, thanks, guys. Beautiful. All right, I had Brian Reisinger on. He's an interesting guy. He's now become quite the professional on what's going on in the farming industry and big ag in America. Grew up on a small farm in Wisconsin. And anyway, he's very concerned. We're down to, we lost, let's see, I think, I forget the number. We've lost 3/4 of the American farmer through various means. So I asked him if the American farmer, perhaps through a coalition, has the president's ear that might have an impact on some of the tariffs with Canada. And here's what he had to say.
You know, it's a really good question. I think that what we are seeing is a situation unfolding where there are efforts to take stronger action on behalf of the American farmer worker, and where we're seeing some maybe unintended consequences or things that are happening because other actors then react to us. And we are seeing so far that the administration is seeing those things and trying to address them. And so what I would say is, you know, farm country and rural America was some of the strongest support that President Trump had. And I think that so far, when folks from rural America and folks from farm country are speaking up, we are seeing that they are working to adjust their policies. I hope that continues. And as you know, there's a lot of reason for the American farmer to be concerned, whoever is running the government, because the establishment of the Republican Party, as well as the Democrats, have made so many policy mistakes for decades and decades. And so I think it is a good thing for the American farmer to have a bigger voice right now. And it's more important than ever that we do, because we are at a point where if we lose more farms, we're going to lose most of our family farms in the next generation, just mathematically speaking. And we're dealing with so many big issues right now that are impacting that. So it's good for the farmer to have a larger voice, and I hope that continues.
Yeah, and apparently they have already, within the last several days, an influence on the president's tariffs on Canada, and it may be not only pulled back, but it may not include fertilizer. So already their coalition of the American farmer, we're talking only a couple of million left. And a small farmer today is a small business. I mean, it could be 10 acres, it could be 1,000 acres. It's still the small farmer.
Well, we've seen dwindling numbers of small farmers. I grew up, in a small farm family. And so, we've seen more and more sell-off and big corporate farms coming in. What's the future of the small independent farmer?
Well, it's in trouble.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of things for it. One would be what they call Big Ag, the coalition of big ag companies, and then GMOs and all that. All this is under the microscope. Yeah. Probably one of the biggest problems is the control of water.
Oh, yeah.
And just about the time a small farmer, now he's got to pay for his water, and then he has to pay for this and pay for that, and all of a sudden his profit margin, his carryover to grow a crop the next year dwindles. China is very much involved in American agriculture, and they need to be driven out.
That's my next question.
Yeah.
Are they going to stop that? Because we know that China has been buying up farmland in this country, and we're seeing some states who are pushing back on that. Are we seeing anything on a federal level?
I think we will. Okay. I haven't heard anything yet, but it's on the radar, I believe, of the administration. But the case that came down over the weekend, where a $24 billion suit against China for its impact of the COVID problem on the citizens of Missouri, won a $24 billion judgment against China. Well, are they going to collect? Probably nothing. But because they won the judgment, they can seize the property. And so they're going to go throughout Missouri and look at the farmland and other things that the Chinese own through shadow companies and seize the property. I think every state in the union ought to wake up and jump on that case and do the same thing.
Absolutely.
They can jump on the COVID case because it's legitimate, and use that as a means to go ahead and get the land back.
Yes. Yeah.
Sounds simple.
You've got it figured out.
Yeah.
When are you announcing that you're running?
Well, I was going to run for the border. But there's problems down there.
Yes, you're right. Well, they let
then
you
I was going to run to this border, and there's problems up there.
Over there. Are you ready to pay a tariff?
I don't know what I'm going to do.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, got great guests. Dr. Murray Sabin will be with us. Now, look, he's a professor of finance. We'll talk to him about tariffs, the stock market, the jitters, that coming up. And then somebody else that will show up that'll pretty much dominate the scene. He has the initials of Todd Friel.
I love it. I can't wait.
Okay.
All right. Hey, do you collect anything?
Yeah.
Do you spend money on it?
Sometimes.
A lot of money on it?
No. Well, it depends what it is.
Well, it's amazing what people will spend on, some things that seem to have no value at all, and especially when it comes up to auction. Is there auction frenzy?
There can be.
Yeah.
Do you go on? You ever watch eBay?
I have gotten involved on eBay, and there is frenzy, and I know the adrenaline starts going, and you want to be the winner.
Do you ever go to Hemmings or Bring a Trailer?
No.
I mean, that's big auction stuff.
No, I'm not doing that stuff.
Well, I watch it, and it's fun to watch.
Yeah, well, here is a case of something of no apparent value going to auction and selling for a lot of money. Check this out.
A single flaming hot Cheeto said to be shaped like a Charizard from the Pokemon anime and gaming franchise was auctioned for $87,840. The Golden Auction House said the oddly sculpted snack, dubbed Cheetozard, opened bidding at $250 in February and was sold to an unnamed bidder for $72,000 plus a buyer's premium, a total of $87,840. The 3-inch long Cheeto is affixed to a custom Cheetozard Pokemon card and encased in a transparent box.
Golden said the Cheeto was discovered and preserved by sports memorabilia company First and Goal Collectibles sometime between 2018 and 2022. Images of the snack went viral on social media in 2024. So what is the shelf life of a Cheeto?
I don't know.
Where do you keep that?
Cheeto art?
Cheeto art. And it looks like a anyway, it's a character out of Pokemon. And that's the other thing too. You know, if you ever watch like Pawn Stars, and these people come in with like little things from Pokemon or for some of these other video games, and they sell for literally thousands and thousands of dollars. You think, who establishes the value on these things?
Well, you know, collectors being what they are and who they are. You ever watch the Antique Roadshow?
Oh, I have, yes.
I love it.
I do too.
Because usually the people that are highlighted are so surprised what they got that they bought at a garage sale or found in Uncle Marshall's attic or something.
Or on the other hand, they come in confident that they have something worth a lot of money and they say, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I think it has a lot to do with, you know, your thing, whatever it is. I mean,
what is your thing?
I knew one guy that lived in the state of Oregon and paid $1 million for a golf club.
Hey, I know a guy that thought ski boots were more important than the prom.
Well, and that guy is just now getting out of counseling.
Maybe a little premature.
That's a great story, by the way.
Oh, man.
All right, 2 Timothy 1:7 is a great verse for you today, and take this with you no matter what you're facing today. I think you'll find good encouragement in this. For God has not given us the spirit of fear. So if you're afraid of something this morning, guess what? That didn't come from God. But the power of power and of love and a sound mind. So claim your portion from God, which is power and love and a sound mind, and reject fear this morning, okay? All right. Have a good day. Stick around. If you want to do some Cheeto art, send us a picture of it.
Give and take away. My heart will choose to say, Lord, blessed be your name. You give and take away. You give and take.
The biblical instructions for coming to Christ are repentance and faith. So repentance, that is turning away from your lifestyle of sin, and faith, trusting in the Lord Jesus Christ alone.
There is truth in this world because God created it, and His Word is truth. We see this laid out in the Bible, the foundation to a reasonable faith. And that faith is centered on Jesus Christ and His great work.
Monday, Friday, and Saturday on theDove TV.
In the heart of the Rogue Valley, RVTD connects us all, not just through miles traveled, but also through time. 50 years ago, public transportation laid the foundation for growth in Southern Oregon. These early buses didn't just carry passengers, they carried progress, connecting communities and fueling dreams. Rogue Valley Transportation District, celebrating 50 years of moving our community forward.
Big ideas grow.
What if your next ride was more than just a ride?
What if it was an epic adventure filled with unforgettable memories?
At Panoramic Moto Tours, we take you beyond the ordinary, offering curated routes, privately guided with all the details handled.
Our passion is to share the joy of riding incredible roads, exploring new sights and towns, and connecting with others and sharing our stories.
Sound good to you?
What are you waiting for? Let's create your custom tour, or join us on one of our upcoming tours.
The Lost Coast and Trinity Alps, May 16th through the 19th, or the Oregon Coast and Cascades Tour, June 22nd through the 26th. Just click the Tours tab at panoramicmototours.com or call 541-622-3844.
PanoramicMototours.com. Your next adventure starts here.
Preaching the gospel and equipping the saints in a way that only Todd Friel can. Wretched, weekdays and weeknights on the Dove TV, encouraging and informing.
Well, welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson. A lot in the news about the economy, and are we heading towards recession? Is inflation going up or down? Are the tariffs working? Are they a scare tactic? Are they a mistake? And the stock market seems to be on a roller coaster. Perfect timing, and I'm always honored when we have time to have Dr. Murray Sabrin with us. He's a emeritus professor of finance at Ramapo College there in New Jersey. He's the author of several books, including his autobiography, which, by the way, is a very interesting read. It's From Immigrant to Public Intellectual, An American Story, and it is a beautiful story. So you can check that out. He does have a website, Murray Sabrin, SABRIN.substack.com. Dr. Sabrin, good to see you, friend. How are you, buddy?
Great to be with you, Perry. It's almost spring, so hopefully your neck of the woods will be having some good weather.
Well, we're starting to see buds on trees, so that's a good sign. Well, listen, quite the ride on the roller coaster the last 2 days, and primarily triggered by tariffs. What's the professor's view?
Well, tariffs, as you know, are nothing more than taxes on imported goods, and the importer pays it. So the question is, can importers pass on the higher cost to consumers? And the answer is, it depends. I'm not trying to equivocate, but it depends. If consumers really want the product that's being imported and prices go up because of the tariffs, they'll pay the higher price, but some people won't. So the retailer will suffer lower sales, the importer will have lower sales, and so this will adversely affect American businesses. So when the president says that tariffs are paid by foreign companies, that's just not true, unless, of course, the importer can say to the exporter, you're going to have to eat the tariff that we have to pay, and that may or may not happen. So the bottom line is tariffs are a dislocating phenomenon. In other words, they impact everybody in the supply chain. And the last thing we need is more adverse consequences in the supply chain. We saw what happened during COVID and the aftermath. So we just need the free market to do its thing, which is provide consumers with the best possible goods at the lowest possible prices. And that's why we need more free enterprise and less government management of the economy.
So is there any substance to the claim by the president that the ultimate goal is to equal the tariffs on both sides of the fence, so to speak?
Well, that's his goal. I think it's a mistaken goal. I think what the president should say is, we believe in free enterprise. We believe that companies should make the best possible products for the American people, whether it's manufactured abroad or manufactured in the United States. And he should do something which would be out of the box thinking. He should say, we're going to lower tariffs to zero. But with that, I want the corporate income tax to be eliminated, so corporations will no longer get any subsidies from the federal government, no more grants. And the United States becomes the biggest free trade zone in the world, and we would emulate what Hong Kong and Singapore has done, which were backwater areas in the 1940s and 50s, and now they're terrific economic entities. That would be out-of-the-box thinking, not trying to equalize tariffs, because we tried to do that to some degree in the 1930s, and it was a total disaster for the world economy during the Great Depression. And Trump has this mistaken notion that since tariffs were the primary way that the federal government raised money in the 19th century, and the economy boomed from the end of the Civil War to the early 20th century, and tariffs were the main revenue raiser for the federal government, that should be what we should do now. Well, back then, there was no Social Security, there was no Medicare, there was no Medicaid, there was no $1 trillion of interest expense, there was no military-industrial complex. So if we get rid of all of that, then you could raise enough money for the federal government through tariffs and not have an income tax. But the point is, we have this huge welfare warfare state. And my last article that was posted on the Mises.org website taught financial independence and the constitutional federal budget outlines how we can get to where we need to be, which is having the federal government spend money that's only authorized by Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. And Trump should make that case. Unfortunately, he's not doing it because he's not getting good advice on what the constitutional responsibilities are of the federal government.
Excellent point. So in the meantime, before I leave this, we're playing this tit-for-tat game.
Yeah.
Where do you think it's going to end up?
Well, hopefully, Trump will say to his counterparts around the world, saying, listen, we don't want to have a tariff war because the tariff wars of the 1930s was one of the primary causes of World War II. And we should learn from history that tariffs create international tension. And that's what he needs to say to his counterparts in Canada, Mexico, Europe, Asia, and saying, listen, we're willing to reduce tariffs to zero. You do the same thing, and that will be the level playing field where people around the world will receive the benefits of production that is great for the world economy. And that's what he should be doing. He should be the cheerleader for no tariffs. And if he does that, I think the world economy will enter the golden age that he promises to have.
Some have said that he's using tariffs to end up with what you just said. And I'm trying to figure out the strategy here. Because if you ask, say, for instance, and somewhat hypothetical, if you ask China not to go to zero tariffs, will they?
Well, this is the interesting point. There's nothing wrong with lowering taxes unilaterally, lowering tariffs unilaterally, because that would demonstrate to foreign companies that we are open for business. They can sell their products here, but I think what Trump should do, is couple zero tariffs with getting rid of the regulations that are stifling business in America. Regulations are, in effect, a tax on American businesses. In addition, lowering the corporate tax rate to close to zero as possible. And that's what I've been advocating for decades. If we get the corporate income tax close to zero, if not zero, then what you'll have is corporations doing what they do best, is not worrying about the tax code. They can get rid of all the tax accountants that they have, which doesn't add anything to the products that they're selling or the services they're providing. And so Trump has an opportunity to do what people like myself and others have been advocating for literally decades, free up the U.S. economy from the stranglehold of Washington, D.C. The great news, Perry, as I've been saying over and over again, is men and women entrepreneurs, despite all the things that are thrown at them by Washington, still are able to produce a great number of goods and services that people want.
What is, I kind of lost track, Professor, what is the corporate rate now?
The corporate rate, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I think it's in the 20s, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And he wants to bring it down to 15, which would be great. Again, he should just keep on reducing the corporate income tax rate, because remember, corporate income is taxed twice. Once at the corporate level, and then if the company pays a dividend, it's taxed again as dividends to shareholders. So double taxation of dividends is wrong. You should only tax income once. And so we should get the corporate income tax down as low as possible. One good thing he's done is expense capital expenditures, which is a great thing. This way you don't have to amortize it over 5, 10, 20 years, whatever the case may be. And but the main point is, we should reduce the dependency on Washington, D.C. The numbers are staggering. Between corporate welfare and individual welfare, about 200 million people are on government payrolls in terms of getting checks: Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and food stamps. We have a nation that is dependent upon federal government for their basic subsistence. That's not what the founders' legacy was to us, that we should have a nation where people may be politically independent from Great Britain, which was what the revolution was about 250 years ago, but they should also be financially independent. And that's what I've been writing about. And people need to understand, for everything that the government does, there's a counterpart in the private sector or the nonprofit sector. And that's what I've been advocating for literally half a century.
In your article, would there be some fulfillment of your recommendations if we actually do get to a balanced budget?
Well, the question is, at what level should the budget be balanced? Ronald Reagan campaigned on getting rid of the Department of Education and the Department of Energy. There's no constitutional authority for the government to be involved in education or energy or even commerce or agriculture or health and human services. These are cabinet departments that were created after the New Deal Great Society programs. So both Republicans and Democrats are responsible for these agencies because they either voted for them or kept them in place once they were created. And so if you can't get rid of agencies that have no constitutional authority, then you've lost the argument that you're a fiscal conservative.
Well said. Okay, so the president, the other thing that's happening is what DOGE is uncovering, and I think we're all kind of got our brain on tilt some of the discoveries here and the wasteful money. If they just stop funding what they're finding, I mean, I don't know if there's any means of collecting what has been wasted, but if they just stop funding what they have found, that savings alone would go a long ways towards the debt, don't you think?
Oh, there's no question about it. The key thing that I'm going to be watching, I think other people like me, is what will the 2026 federal budget look like, which begins this coming October 1st. That would be Trump's first budget as president in his second term. If he presents a budget that reduces spending in all these agencies, then we will be on the way to balancing the budget at a much lower level. Unfortunately, the president says he doesn't want to touch Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Well, that's nearly $4 trillion in spending out of a $7 trillion budget. So most of the spending is there, plus the defense budget is too high, given what you need to protect the American people from any attack. Then you have the wild card, which is not so wild anymore. It's $1 trillion of interest on the national debt. That is such a mind-boggling number that interest on the national debt is the fastest component of the budget. It's growing at faster than anything else because we keep on adding debt every year and it has to be funded at roughly 4% plus per year. So we need to get the debt, the budget balanced. We need it balanced at a much lower level. And to pay down the debt is going to be very difficult because you're going to have have surpluses every year in order to do that. One way of paying down the debt is, I think what they're starting to do is sell off government assets that could pay down the debt. There's last number I looked at, there's about $5 trillion that's on the government's balance sheet of things that they could sell, buildings, land, equipment, you name it. They can start doing that, do it in a very systematic way, auction it off every week, every month, and use that money to pay down the debt. So you need a plan. And the thing is, so I don't see a plan in the president's proposals that will take us from where we are today of a $7.2 trillion budget to a much lower budget that will be balanced at the end of his term. So he needs to make an address to the American people and say, listen, we have this budget, we have this debt, and both parties are responsible. He should put on his statesman hat and say, this is not a Republican or a Democratic issue. This is a philosophical issue. What do we want the government to do, and how are we going to pay for it? And if he does that from the Oval Office and has the charts and graphs to show that we cannot continue this welfare warfare state, I think people will applaud. Some people won't applaud on the Democratic side, but the point is he should address the American people saying, if financial house in order, there's going to be a lot of pain in the future, as other countries have seen.
There may be a little bit of a crack in that, Professor. We have a federal building here in our backyard that's now on a list of other buildings to the tune of about, I think it's $8.6 trillion in federal buildings that they're going to auction off. One of them happens to be in our backyard, so we saw that. So it looks like the administration is looking into what you just recommended, and that's start getting rid of surplus buildings.
That'd be great, because then you could have developers come in, build housing, because there apparently is a housing shortage around the country. And we could solve a lot of problems by converting a lot of these office spaces into quality rental space or condos or whatever they decide to structure it. But there's no need to have office space that's not used, that's utilized maybe 10%, 20%. And by downsizing the workforce, people can get jobs. There are 7.5 million job openings in the country. So people who are getting fired from the federal government can get a job in the private sector or the nonprofit sector. Yeah. And they may not be able to earn as much, but the point is we don't need as many people on the federal payrolls as we have today.
All right, let me take a quick break. Always an honor to have with us Dr. Murray Sabrin. He's Emeritus Professor of Finance. You can check out his website, Murray Sabrin, SABRIN.substack.com. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Ed, co-owner of Visiting Angels. To continue to serve our seniors, we need more caregivers with a heart to serve. Our mission statement is honoring the art of giving, which means we honor you, the caregiver. We know it's our people that make Visiting Angels the best in-home care provider and a great place to work. Come be our next amazing caregiver. Give us a call or apply online. At Visiting Angels, we're committed to you because we honor the art of giving.
Your property demands equipment with more reliability, durability, and versatility built in. Kubota equipment is ready to get the job done right.
It's hard for anyone to resist a great combo. So talk to State Farm agent Rory Wold in Medford and save hundreds by combining your auto and homeowner's insurance. After all, these savings are too good to pass up. Get to a better state.
I couldn't believe that my kid, a woman of faith, a family who followed Christ, could have such a horrible diagnosis. Like, why my kid? I wanted to walk away from my faith. I realized in that moment I had no control. The only person that has control is God. And when I came to that realization, I prayed for the first time in months. And I said, God, I give my son to you.
Watch the 700 Club, Tuesday morning at 11 on the Dove TV.
With us, Professor Murray Sabrin. He's a professor emeritus of finance there at Ramapo College in New Jersey, author of several books, and his own autobiography I think you'll find to be a very inspiring read. It's called From Immigrant to Public Intellectual, an American Story, and it truly is. He has a website, murraysabrin.substack.com. In your article, Towards Financial Independence and Constitutional Federal Budget, tell us lay people what a constitutional federal budget is.
Here's the wonderful thing about the Constitution. It outlines a roadmap of a constitutional republic where the government is limited in what it can do. That's why we have the Bill of Rights. The rights that people have are inalienable rights. Comes from the Declaration, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And then Article 1, Section 8 talks about what is the federal government, what money can they spend for the general welfare? And this is the term that a lot of people on the left use. They think the general welfare means anything that the government spends money on for people's needs is part of the Constitution. Well, that's not true. If you go through Article 1, Section 8, it goes through systematically what is allowed, the spending that is allowed. And then you look at the federal budget, and I have in my article that's posted at the Mises.org website, it shows the disconnect between what government spends and what the Constitution authorizes. And like I said, the president should get on TV, address the nation, have charts, put on his professorial hat, be the explainer-in-chief, be the guardian of the Constitution, and say, listen, we can't do this overnight to get to a constitutional federal budget, but let's begin the process of making the country once again a constitutional republic, because most of these programs were not in place before the Great Depression. The Great Depression changed the whole calculus of what the federal government does, and the Supreme Court allowed it to happen. And so between the Great Society and the New Deal, the Great Society, and other programs, for the last 90 years, we've been seeing the expansion of government spending that is not authorized. And in the old days, Perry, when the Supreme Court ruled that the income tax was unconstitutional in 1895, what did the pro-income tax people do? They got the 16th Amendment passed, and in February 1913, the 16th Amendment was added to the Constitution, which gave the government the right to collect an income tax, a direct income tax on the people. When the prohibitionists wanted to ban alcohol, the manufacture and sale of alcohol, there was no constitutional authority to do so. So they got the Constitution Amendment, and we got the 18th Amendment, which gave the government the authority to ban the manufacture and sale of alcohol. So if we want to do something that's not authorized by Article 1, Section 8, you have to amend the Constitution. So when the country wanted to reduce the voting age from 21 to 18, they just couldn't pass a law. They amended the Constitution. So we have a constitutional method to change, to quote, the supreme law of the land by amending the Constitution from its original format. And that's why we have an amendment process. And since that process has been in place, but Article 1, Section 8 has not been fulfilled by the Congress of both parties or the presidents of both parties, and therefore we need to have a national debate. What does it mean to have a constitutional republic? And that is the real constitutional crisis we have in America, not the phony one that the Democrats have been saying of the president doing this, that, and the other thing. The problem is the Congress is spending money that is not authorized. And if I were advising Trump, I would say, make an address to the nation that we need to have a constitutional republic that will give us a golden age. We just can't spend money we don't have at infinity.
So what I kind of got my brain on tilt was to discover that, as an example to what you're saying, is the Department of Education is under the executive branch. So it would appear that the president has the power to eliminate it, but the money is approved through Congress. So they're approving money to an agency that's under the executive branch that wasn't approved by Congress. Doesn't get any more complicated than that.
Well, this is why we need to have this debate. We need to have a grown-up discussion about what can or should the government do, because you have education, you have your school boards, you have county school boards, you have state school boards, and you have the Department of Education. How many layers of bureaucracy does it take to educate a child in the classroom? And I was in the classroom for 35 years at a college, and there was very little bureaucratic oversight. You had your Department of Finance. We had the business school. You had the college, academic affairs. Then you have the State Department of Education, and that was it. Now, of course, the colleges get federal money, so they have to adhere to the rules of whatever are attached to the money that's given by the federal government. But the point is, we need to take all these programs and bring it down to its entity, which is schools, hospitals. We can get rid of food stamps. We have food banks all over the country. We need to expand that and get the 42 million people that are on food stamps off of food stamps, and let the local food banks help people in need. We have Habitat for Humanity. They could build housing, affordable housing for people all across the country, like Jimmy Carter did in his years. We have nonprofit health centers that can replace Medicaid. So, excuse me, the people that have enormous wealth And in Barron's this week, they list the top 10 philanthropists in the country. I think Michael Bloomberg is number one with $3 billion. You have Bill Gates. You have Warren Buffett. You have all these people with incredible resources. They single-handedly can eliminate Medicaid, which would save the taxpayer $800 billion a year by creating thousands and thousands of nonprofit health centers across the country. And this is the model that I think the founders envisioned for this country, people helping people at the local level. And in the old days, it was raising the barn. People would get together in a rural community, help build the barn, and that would be it. No government involvement, no taxpayer money. It's voluntarism at its best.
Do you think, just back to some basic pragmatics, the president campaigned on eliminating Social Security tax on Social Security and possibly eliminating the inheritance tax? I mean, they seem to be no-brainers, but they hit walls. What do you think will happen there?
Again, he has to make the case that there's no reason that people who have accumulated wealth during their lifetime, which has been taxed throughout their lifetime, can give it to their children or heirs or whoever that may be on a tax-free basis. And that would prevent family farms from having to be sold in order to pay the estate tax on a family farm or stocks or anything like that. Warren Buffett has figured it out. His estate is not paying any taxes because he's donating part of his portfolio to the Gates Foundation and other foundations, so his estate will never be taxed. So again, there are loopholes for very wealthy people, people of modest means, and now the state exemption is, I think, $13 million, which means that the average person will be exempt from the estate tax. But the estate tax is another example of how the government intrudes in private financial transactions, which should have no place in a free society.
Isn't it interesting, Professor, that everything we're talking about today wasn't on the table a year ago?
Mm-hmm.
And today it's on the table, and it's very controversial. Just in an administration change of having a CEO-type president looking at every nook and cranny. Obviously, there's other opinions on how he should do it, but the fact that we are now uncovering fraud and mismanagement at a level, isn't that overall healthy?
You bring up one of the most important points. This is why government should be downsized to its essential elements, because people in Congress, it's not their money. They don't care about oversight. They don't care about efficiency because it's not their money. All they're trying to do is get as many votes as possible to get reelected. And the way you get reelected in America is you dole out money from the taxpayer. That's why we have a $7.2 trillion federal budget. People are feeding at the trough, and the people in Congress are what? They're the ones that are filling the trough with taxpayer dollars. This is the contradiction in America. We're supposed to have a free society. A free society means you have control over your own money. You have control as much as possible over your destiny. And the government should just leave you alone to do what you do best, which is develop your skills and pursue your happiness by making sure that your life and liberties are protected by the government, not the sustenance that you need. That's something I learned as a youngster growing up in New York City when I saw my father going to work. And the best anti-poverty program in the world, Perry, is the two-parent family. That's what all the statistics show.
That's absolutely beautiful. Where can people get a copy of your article?
The article is available. Here it is right here. Toward financial independence and a constitutional federal budget. It was published a week ago on the Mises website. So if you just Google it, toward financial independence and a constitutional federal budget, you'll be able to read the 1,700 words. This is a condensed version of an 11,000-word essay I just sent to the editor of a book that's coming out later this year, early next year, entitled The Ethics and Philosophy of Taxation, edited by a longtime friend and accounting professor, Robert McGee. And this essay was really something that I really wanted to get out, because it's really something I wrote 30 years ago when I wrote Tax Free 2000, of how we could have a roadmap to a tax-free America. And we're starting to get that idea because in Florida, Governor DeSantis wants to get rid of the property tax, which I advocated back in my 1995 book. And I also want to get rid of all the other taxes as well. So again, we need a roadmap. We need to have a debate. We need to have a civil discussion about what is America all about. It's not about dependency. It's about freedom and liberty and free enterprise and peaceful relations with other countries around the world.
Well said. All right. MurraySabrin.substack.com is his website. You can probably Google Towards Financial Independence and Constitutional Federal Budget and get a copy of the article. Thank you, Professor. Always an honor to have you, sir. Look forward to more visits.
Thanks, Perry. It's great to always be with you.
Welcome to Rise Direct Primary Care. Imagine a healthcare experience where you're known by name, cared for like family, and treated with compassion. How is that possible? With an affordable, flat monthly membership, you receive unlimited primary care and minor urgent care visits. No insurance needed. At Rise Direct Primary Care, we offer a friendly, affordable healthcare experience where you get a whole hour with your provider. Located in Central Medford and accessible by phone or text, we can typically get you in the same or next day. We prescribe urgent care medications directly from our office, saving you a trip and wait time at the pharmacy when you'd rather be at home getting better. Personalized medical care with a human touch. Rise Direct Primary Care is all about healing the sick with compassion and keeping the healthy healthy. Rise Direct Primary Care. We're here for you. Visit risehealthdpc.com or call or text us 541-827-8603. 541-827-8603.
Grange Co-op, where big ideas grow.
Nigerian Christians in Iran are routinely arrested.
Nepali Christians continue to suffer.
In times of trial and affliction, you need to know the truth.
One of the fastest growing Christian populations in the world.
Join Wendy Griffith and George Thomas for Christian World News.
Young people are the ones who are open to the gospel.
Powerful stories of suffering and hope that affect all Christians.
Watch Christian World News weeknights at 5:30 on the Dove TV.
Well, welcome back. Always an honor when we have time to sit down with the doctor, the professor, the Reverend Todd Friel. He's the executive director of Fortis Institute, and he is the host of Wretched TV and Radio. He's authored 5 books and produces over 24 Bible studies. His organization produces some of the great television programming that you see right here on the Dove TV network. He does have a website, fortisinstitute.org, and there's the picture of the landing site, and you can check that out. All the resources are available there are really amazing. fortisinstitute.org. Brother Todd, good to see you, friend. How are you?
You just set up our subject, and I don't think you even realize it. You just gave me all kinds of monikers and titles. Happen to be preaching through that section of scripture in Matthew chapter 23, where Jesus warns, don't call anybody rabbi, leader, teacher, father. Look out for those, because God is our father. Jesus is our leader, and we need to reject those titles. By the way, Perry, do you know what the term rabbi means?
Teacher.
I think I know what you're going to say. Teacher. It's literally, though, I believe, the great one. And the Pharisees, they wanted that title. They wanted honor. They wanted to sit at the premier spot inside of the synagogue where the Torah would be read. They wanted greetings in the marketplace. And they wanted to show people how religious they were. And Jesus totally undresses them and spends an entire chapter woeing them. And that segues us into our subject du jour, which is also the subject of the day. And that is the people that we saw on last Tuesday night in Washington, D.C., who are our leaders. They received an undressing from Donald Trump, just like Jesus absolutely exposed the hypocrisy of the religious leaders, the Pharisees, the hypocrites. I think the exact same thing happened on Tuesday. That was an exposing of the heart of the individuals who are progressive and liberal. Perry, it was great theater, wasn't it? Watching it, it was like, oh, this is just great TV. Can you give me some of this every night? This is real. And it was just raw. And I found myself getting just hotter and hotter as I was watching it. This group of people who so hate not just Donald Trump, but conservative policies, anything that is Bible related, anything that is commonsensical, they wouldn't stand up for it, including people who had lost their children, a young boy who had brain cancer and was there being celebrated and they couldn't get up. I got to tell you, I see that, Perry, and I ask myself the question, is it time for us to woe a group of people that are it's sheer evil? That it's maybe time that we start petitioning the Lord, please do something about this. This is wickedness in high places. And it's just, I found it to be so, well, disgusting. I thought, is it maybe time for imprecatory prayers again?
To your point there, I think a lot of people are asking the question, why couldn't they stand for some obvious things or clap for some obvious things? They obviously were given a memo to sit on your hands and shut up and only wave a paddle. And the peer pressure to do that is probably unlike anything we would ever experience. But it was also the canceling of the human soul.
Oh.
It just kind of like, it just canceled not only logic, but morality and decency. It was just all canceled. It was just wiped off the map.
You know, in fairness, if we're going to be somewhat accurate with our history, I'm not sure either side could throw a stone regarding decorum. You know, we saw some of that in the yelling and what have you. Well, that's happened from both, but this was different. This was, I'm willing to pretend that something important, humanly important, is happening here and recognize it, because I'm so opposed to anything that isn't on my party list. And that's why I'm telling you, Perry, look, we all listen to the litany of accomplishments, most of which were just basically the stroke of a pen, which means they'll only last 4 years. Nevertheless, we celebrate all of those things. But at the same time, I have to confess, without just being a total wet blanket on this, it's like we celebrate and applaud that the president had to sign a piece of paper that said there's only 2 genders. What? Wait, how did we need that? We are so detached from reality. We need an executive order to tell us there's only a pink and a blue. So I see and hear all of those accomplishments, and believe me, I'd much rather have those than the auto pen accomplishments of the last administration. But I got to tell you, Perry, it doesn't change what's going on in this country. I mean, okay, here, this is my radio desk, by the way. See that? Mm-hmm. This is thicker than the Nixon folders. These are all okay. This is from the Mirror in Great Britain. I'm the UK's first man to fall pregnant naturally, and I want more kids. Whew. Legislation isn't going to change this thinking. We have a worldview problem that goes so much deeper than politics. So at the moment, I want to be like, okay, good, some good things are happening, but I don't want to be naive and think it is going to correct the much deeper systemic problem, which is a problem of the heart.
Wow. Hey, by the way, if I can go just sidebar for a moment, I read an article that, your mentor, John MacArthur, has gone through a lot. He's been in the hospital, he's out, but he said something the other day that kind of put my brain on tilt, and that was, he said, I'm on my last lap.
Yeah, right.
What did he mean by that?
Yeah, well, he's 85 years old. And he was quite strong up until a couple of years ago, still preaching strongly. Voice was strong. And his heart, he had heart issues, so he'd been in and out of the hospital with different surgeries. This last one, he was in for 7 weeks. He survived the hospital. He says he feels good, but he's weak. And so he prepared a video for the Shepherds Conference, which takes place every year, because he just didn't have the strength to attend it himself. He wanted to send a message to the fellows who were there. And it was pretty poignant. If you've been following John MacArthur's ministry for the last 55 years, it has been staggeringly prolific. And he's saying, I'm on my last lap. The prize is near. And it does raise some questions, though, about life and death. There's a lot of us who are going to be sad at the passing of a guy, a giant like John MacArthur. Now, whether he's your theological stripe or not, you have to admit, look at the laundry list of accomplishments of this guy. Grace to You, the radio ministry, his commentary set, all of the books. How's about the Master's Seminary, the Master's University, the Master's Academy International? It's like, wow! And we might find ourselves thinking dualistically, which would be an error. We might think, well, there's a guy that's going to be really rewarded because of all of the stuff that he did that was religious. And that's a category error. It's not just religious stuff that gets rewarded. God rewards all of your labors if, 1 Corinthians 3 and 4, you're doing them rightly, biblically, accurately, faithfully, with the right motivation. So we can look at a life of like somebody like John MacArthur, and we can be quite in awe of what God did through him. But it should also remind us, hey, you don't have to be doing religious things to have God's favor and receive rewards from God. Now, that's dualism, which is actually what my next book is about. Thanks for bringing it up, Harry.
And that is?
It's actually called Lord Over All. It's in the editing process. It won't be out till next year. But it's designed to try to help us think that it's not religion and then the rest of life. It's not sacred and secular. For the Christian, because you are a priest, you hold the keys of the kingdom. Everything that wherever you go, you bring Christian with you. Now, it's not like Paula White claiming that wherever she walks, it's now sacred ground. But it is to say that you are a priest. So anything you put your hands to, it becomes a Christian activity. Not because the activity is religious, but because you are a priest. And that means life is colored, and it's full of an understanding of how everything operates, and it brings purpose. And it brings such fulfillment to life when you recognize there's no distinction between sacred and secular. So all that to say, John MacArthur is on his last lap, and he's a man who is at least still on the track, and he is running the race to the end, and he wants to do what the Puritans would call dying well.
One last question before I take a break kind of fits into all of this, and that is, here we are, 6, 7, 8 weeks into a new administration. A lot of changes are happening, a total reversal of where we've been. You can go down that road and you can check good, bad, indifferent. But at the end of the day, I've noticed that the anxiety level in America hasn't lessened.
No, because it can't. Because even a good economy can't remove that. A bad economy, it only can expose what's already in your heart. The only one who can actually calm the heart is the one who stilled the seas, and that is God. That's his role. And any time we think that the economy, the political climate, an election is our pacifier, it's our support dog, it's not going to deliver. Only God can bring that. So you're right with. And we want to find I don't want to be like, oh, all of these things that are going on that we kind of like, who cares about them? Well, they do mean something, but they don't mean everything. And they don't mean the important things. And they don't mean that you can listen to all of the accomplishments of the first 40 some days, but that won't change one person's eternity. You and I are the ones who know the message that will change somebody's eternity. So let's be glad, but let's stay on the track and keep running the race, because people need to hear the gospel.
What we saw with in the speech Tuesday night when the Democrats pretty much sat on their hands, I know this sounds political and I don't want it to be, because my point is this. it appears there's something really biblical going on here.
Oh.
And that is, what was done in darkness is now being exposed to the light, and they can't take it. And I don't know if in our own hearts and minds, Todd, if we thought it was this bad. We thought maybe it was superficial, but it was much deeper and worse than we thought, right?
Oh, this is worldview. This has been a battle in the heavenly places all along. It always has been, by the way. But it's devolving and devolving. The further away people get from God, the further away they get removed from the light, the darker their thinking becomes. And honestly, that very same day, they couldn't pass a piece of legislation that a grown man shouldn't participate on the girls' volleyball team. I mean, like, what in the world? Well, this is Romans 1. This is a depraved mind, and we haven't reached the bottom of the barrel yet, by the way. There's still room down there, and I think that we're going to continue to see that, because that is not going to go away with the stroke of a pen. It's deep, Perry. It's very religious, which is why, okay, be involved in politics. You keep watching Hannity if you want to, but we need to be engaged in the business of the church, because if we think that a nation without Christian underpinnings can stand long, we're deceived.
All right, let me take a break. When we come back, I know that you're very involved in campus activities, and there seems to be some interesting statistics coming out. Even George Barnes is now writing about it, that there seems to be a genuine seeking of maybe reality, truth, what's authentic. We'll get into that. All right, FortisInstitute.org, that's the website. Check it out. There you can check out everything that Todd is involved in, except for getting a shave and a haircut. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Finding that next great series to binge watch is fun, but your neck, shoulders, and body don't count that as me time. Hi, I'm Tamara Miller, owner of Organic Element Spa, and I invite you to put down the remote, get off the couch, and schedule yourself some real me or we time with your favorite service, like one of our many massages, couples massages, or facials. Your health, safety, and comfort are always top priority with us at Organic Element Spa. We can't wait to see you. Book your appointment today.
With the words, "Behold, a sower went out to sow," Jesus begins the legendary Matthew 13 parable of the sower about God's word and draws attention to the need for good soil in order to bear fruit. This question of good soil motivates and challenges every Christian parent. Can good soil be nurtured in the lives of our children? A similar question was asked by the ancient Greeks concerning virtue. Drawing upon classical traditions like the Trivium and the liberal arts, classical Christian schools are coming alongside Christian parents to do just that, nurture good soil and virtue. Now in our 8th year serving Jackson County, Knox Academy, the Rogue Valley's own K-12 classical Christian school, is relocating to downtown Medford in order to better assist parents as they educate their children. We are currently enrolling students for the 25-26 school year. Visit us at knoxmedford.com for more information. Invest in the future with a strong connection to the past for good soil, deep roots, and fruit at knoxmedford.com.
Hey, this is Ed, co-owner of Visiting Angels. To continue to serve our seniors, we need more caregivers with a heart to serve. Our mission statement is honoring the art of giving, which means we honor you, the caregiver. We know it's our people that make Visiting Angels the best in-home care provider and a great place to work. Come be our next amazing caregiver. Give us a call or apply online. At Visiting Angels, we're committed to you because we honor the art of giving.
Always a joy and an honor to have with us Todd Friel. He is the executive director of Fortis Institute, the host of Wretched TV and Radio, both that you see here on the Dove Television Network, author of books. And you go to fortisinstitute.org. There's a picture of the landing page. Now, I know I make fun of your beard and your haircut there, Todd, but you do look very professor-like.
Do I?
Yeah, kind of like your high-end academia, intellectual, kind of serious.
I'm going to get the patches on the elbow and just complete the whole look.
Okay, a little C.S. Lewis, Charles Spurgeon type.
man.
The only thing lacking is the pipe and the cigar.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen. Let me tell you that. Those things I don't understand those things. Hey, I know you want to get to something else, and I don't mean to commandeer your program. Did you cover the studies that have come up, big studies? Trans surgeries increase risk of mental health conditions and suicidal ideations. This is important because we keep being told, hey, if you don't let these people go under the knife and take all kinds of medication that is going to be very bad for their bodies, you're evil because they're going to take their own lives. Well, it turns out that those people who get the surgeries actually have higher rates of suicidal ideations, which shouldn't surprise us. We're dealing with people who need help. They don't need a medical professional to use their skills to mutilate their bodies. They need help. And this narrative that we're the one who are killing trans people, sorry, let's trust the science.
Well, that was highlighted a little bit when Charlie Kirk was being interviewed by Governor Newsom. They got into this a little bit. And Newsom's response was exactly what you were saying. Should we feel sorry for these people who have a place? Look, at the end of the day, this transgender movement and LGBTQ, we're dealing with broken children. Yeah. And if we don't understand that, then you fall into the sympathy trap and giving them what they think they want and need, and that's the problem.
Yeah, that's one of the lessons too. We're preaching through Matthew at Alpharetta Bible Church. And we see Jesus willing to confront people with the truth. With the Pharisees, we would look at that today and go, well, that's not loving. How dare you woe them? How can you call them whitewashed tombs? Well, they were, and his heart, even though the Bible doesn't say the tone in this particular chapter is one of a broken heart, but the text, I think, leans that way. When we hear him say, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, that's a broken-hearted plea. Come to your senses. Woe to you, Pharisee. How will you escape the judgment? He wanted them to hear truth, and he was willing to confront them with the truth. And in our age, we are reticent to do that. And honestly, that's wrong. It is not loving. It's not loving to go along with a lie, especially a lie that, hey, we just saw it right here. It's actually hurting people, which we knew all along.
So young people seem to be waking up on their own, if I could put it that way. There seems to be, they've run out of gas of everything they've been told. It's not turning out to be what they've been told. They're now waking up that they've been lied to. The statistics don't support what they've been told. And they're on a genuine search for authenticity and truth. Are we prepared to capitalize on this?
Boy, I wish we were, Perry. I got to do a shout out. If you are a good Bible teaching church and you are near a university campus, honestly, I fear you might be negligent and derelict in your duties if you do not send people to that campus every single week. I am telling you from experience, I'm telling you from talking to other people, and I'm telling you from going to these campus revivals that presumably that we are seeing. Kids are hungry on the campus. They want to talk about these things. They want to engage on a higher level. They have seen the bankruptcy of secular humanism. They know it doesn't work. Many of them, furthermore, went to university and they thought they were going to be fine, but before you know it, and it took about a minute, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. By the way, I just heard that the president of a university, I want to make sure this is secondhand, although he actually heard it, nevertheless, at a major university in the South, got up and stood before the freshmen and said, just to let you know, if you came here and you're religious, we are going to try to break you down. We are going to try to challenge everything that your parents told you so that you can formulate your own worldview. How dare they? Whoa. And that's what's going on university campuses. And the kids, unfortunately, they tumble into it. They stumble, and these Christian kids, they mar their consciences. They're walking away from the faith of their family, and they know it's out of sorts. And we've got to get there. And I'm telling you, the kids will talk. Furthermore, the kids will congregate. Invite them to an event. That's what we're going to be doing. That's our next initiative here, Perry. Well, one of our next initiatives. We're going to go to university campuses, and we're going to do different events. One of the events will be for that aforementioned group. Hey, you're a Christian, but your conscience is killing you because you've been doing stuff you know you shouldn't be doing, and you're trying to sort out your Christian faith. Come, let's talk about it. Second, you got emotional issues? Come, let's talk about it with Dr. Greg Gifford. You're a young man and you're confused and you're thinking maybe Andrew Tate ain't the guy I should be emulating. Come, Dr. Adam Tyson, we're going to do a presentation for you, and it'll be gospel saturated. Dr. Jason Lyle, another one of our fellows. You want to talk about origins, creation, evolution? Let's do that, and we can do it. Perry, the good news is it doesn't need to be, you see those videos on the YouTube machine where the conservative person comes to campus and just scalds the progressive punk, makes him sorry that he ever stood up to a microphone. And I know it gets lots of views. I don't think it's necessary, because I am fully persuaded the kids want to hear from somebody who is kind and yet firm in their beliefs, they're convictional, and they have a source of authority. We've got all of those things. Let's get to the campuses, y'all.
Will this take place on or off campus, Todd?
On campus.
Really?
What we're doing, yeah. If you're a church and you've got a ministry on campus already, or you're a campus ministry, we are going to engage good local churches, not bad ones, good ones, because that's important. We've been seeing some of these revivals on the campuses, Perry. And some of them are better, some of them are worse, some of them are a mixture, because we actually went to one in Kentucky to kind of observe what this thing is all about. And in that particular one, good news, even though there was kind of a mess theologically with a bunch of stuff, the gospel was clearly proclaimed, and then they baptized people. And I know we see that and rejoice, and I wouldn't want to become kind of a jerk about this, but I think the baptism should take place in the context of a local church. And I just think that's a more biblical, better place. We can't make a law where there is no law. So we want to engage local churches and have them participate with us. So if you got a campus ministry, send an email to us. Dalton is handling it. He's in the office over there. Dalton at fortisinstitute.org. And we'll come. We pay for everything. We want to talk to the students on your campus.
Oh, that's beautiful. Do you think what's happening at Columbia University, with the turnaround of the anti-Semitism there, maybe not. I mean, withholding $400 million gets a lot of people's attention. But the point is, anti-Semitism is one thing. What about anti-Christianity?
It's rampant. It's rampant in some circles, but I'm telling you, there is a bit of a cultural shift. We're seeing that, I think, manifested. Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson, academics that are talking about, favorably Christianity. Now, I reject their approach because they're looking at it merely from a cultural standpoint. And even Richard Dawkins saying, I'm a cultural Christian because, hey, I kind of like the benefits of Christianity. But as Os Guinness would say, you separate believing the faith from the effects of the faith, and you got to cut flour and it won't produce the harvest that you're after.
All right, fortisinstitute.org, that's the website that pretty much brings together all the things that Todd is involved in. You can see the array of them there, all those panels there. There's a lot going on there at their institute and continues to grow and go. More programming coming out, more apologetics at different levels. I don't know when you're sleeping.
You know what? My strength is in my hair and beard.
Okay, Samson.
And mighty was his fall.
I'm going to send you a coupon, Samson, just to save you the embarrassment. How's that?
I need one. Believe me, I know.
All right. Good to see you, buddy. God bless you, pal.
Love you guys at the Dove.
Okay.
The Lennox iComfort S30 thermostat can sense changes in your environment It even knows when you come and go. So now your home's most important system is also the smartest.
Metal Masters can give you